work session. During this meeting, we did not take motions or make motions or complete any business. We're just here to discuss. So at this time, welcome everybody to the Borough Council work session. We don't have our member here for the trivia question, so we're going to save some time and move on with that instead of think of one. So we're going to move into short-term rental ordinance review. I have it scheduled for 30 minutes, but I think it's going to not take that much time. We've looked at this now 2 or 3 work sessions over the last few months, and we have it down to about 6 questions we sent to our legal consultant, and that's what we're going to be discussing here tonight. And then afterward, in the main business meeting, we'll be looking for a motion to move this to a public meeting for public comment. So with that stated, Council, I sent out several pieces of information early before the packet, so you had time to look at the ordinance as to how we had drafted it. And so you could take a look at that, and I think we sent you out the list of questions with some answers on it, and then I also sent out the legal counsel's letter back after his review. So question number 1, you'll find on page 4 under 575.05, it's item O. The question is, can we control how many nights an STR can operate in a year? The attorney answer was yes, suggested 60 days based on case law. So we are able to control the number of nights in the R1 and R2 districts, and so we selected the 60 days as it is based on case law.
Can we make comments on that?
You
No?
can.
Okay, great. I think that really limits some of these people that are doing this as a business, and I would like to see a lot more nights than 60. And apparently you can go up to 180 and still be considered Pennsylvania.
Well, we were at 180, we went to 60, we went to 40, we were at 45, now we're at 60, and that's because it's on in case, that's what we have in case law, so we can justify it, and
I understand we can justify it, but it doesn't mean that's what it has to be. So I'll just go on record as that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other? Okay. The next item is number 2. What is the responsibility as a designated agent? Could it include booking? Should it include distance available 24/7 or add responsibilities? Booking question was not addressed. So basically, Gina revised this section with the current language. The question of including booking was removed as this information is provided by the STR owner operator as shown in item 15-575-06. And then that actually says, in addition to the declared short-term rental dates, property owners are required to keep a detailed scheduled calendar that provides all rental periods. So Gina, you have anything that you need to add to that, since you're the one who kind of redid this one?
Not that particular section.
Okay.
Would it be possible to speak up
This
a
is
little
just
bit?
this is just a council session
We
right
just
now.
can't hear you. She's just
Oh,
asking
you
you to
can't?
speak up, please.
That's all.
Okay, we'll do. Is there any other questions on number 2? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to number 3. This is on page 7 of 9, under 5707. Does the owner need to name the Borough of Bellefonte an additional insured on their rental insurance policy, or could the borough mandate that? The lawyer come back and said, no, that we needed to eliminate that clause, which we did. That comes out of there now. So that's gone. Any questions on that? Okay, number 4, under page 6 of 9, under 570-060, item A, can we make sure their rental insurance specifically covers short-term rentals? The answer to that was yes, proof of insurance is required on the application. So nothing's really changed there. It was just a question that we wanted to have confirmed. So that's in there. Any questions on that? Seeing none, we'll move to question 5. It's item 575-07 on page 7. Review hazards and liability insurance section. It was determined that the hazard and liability insurance is appropriate and no changes were made, so it's staying as it is now. Any questions on that? Seeing none, we'll move to number 6. If a short-term rental is being run as an LLC with the original intent to operate as a business, would this then violate our zoning ordinance and could the permit be revoked? Says we cannot revoke it. Says we can. The lawyer says we can't revoke a current permit, but could make sure that there are no more LLCs. I'm sorry. Let me go back with this. If an STR is being run by an LLC with the original intent to operate as a business, would this then violate our zoning ordinance? And could the permit be revoked? So it's kind of like two questions here. It says we can revoke a current permit, but could we make sure that there are no more LLCs in the R1 or R2 districts? And we think that some of this wasn't really answered through Stover, but the opinion came through of the legal counsel that we cannot make a requirement of a short-term rental permit that the owner not be an LLC. Doing so would amount to regulating the ownership and not the use. So everything we tried to do with this ordinance is about the use and not who owns it. Okay, so that's the language that's in there now. Any questions or discussion on that? Okay, then the next one is a 7th question, item, it's 575-05, item B. The highlighted section of item B is additional language to this section discussed and included by the Borough's Council STR Committee. So this particular question did not go to legal yet. What we have in here will go there once we have the public meeting, and we'll include that with all the other public comments that come through at that meeting. So basically, pre-existing short-term rentals in the R1 and R2 districts are non-conforming to the guidelines of the residential districts. For this purpose, short-term rentals that have been permitted prior to the date of enactment of this ordinance through the Borough of Bellefonte Zoning Office and the Borough of Bellefonte Contracted Building Safety and Property Code Agency shall be allowed to continue as non-conforming. No additional short-term rentals will be permitted in R1 and R2 zoning districts. And then there was an addition in here by the committee that non-owner occupied short-term rental owners may sell their short-term rental facility only as a single-family home or as a long-term rental. The short-term status would no longer apply. We don't know where that stands, but we just wanted to have that question in there for clarification, if nothing else.
And I'd like to go on record saying that I don't agree with the decision of phasing out the short-term rental permits. I understand that when a home is sold, that the new owner has 1 year to decide whether or not to continue as a short-term rental or to give up that permit. But I think that there should be a wait list. There should be something available so that other people may take advantage of this situation and not just the limited number that we have now. We can set a percentage maybe of people who could have short-term rentals so that it doesn't overwhelm the residential area. But I do think that it's something that Bellefonte should offer. We don't have any hotels. We don't have anything except some B&Bs. And the people that I've talked to are not opposed to short-term rentals in their neighborhood. There was one person from Lynn Street, and I've talked to several from Curtin Street who are not at all opposed. And the number one complaint would be if it became a nuisance, but that hasn't been an issue in the past, and I don't see it as an issue going forward.
It can be discussed later in the business meeting as well. Okay. So that's where we're at. That's what we have left to have reviewed. That was reviewed by our attorney, and so these items will go into our proposed draft to be sent out for the public meeting. Any other questions from council on this? Okay, then we will move to our next item, which is budgeting. Thank you.
Do you want to come up here in the morning? Might as well, since Kent's not here.
Okay, well, mine tonight is kind of short and sweet. We need to get our heads back into this, me and you both. So I did the street lighting. I think street lighting's probably one of the easiest, most to the point funds that we have. We levy a tax for street lighting. Street lighting is for the lights, the gooseneck lights that are all around town in the residential areas and downtown. So we levy a tax for that. It's required to have its own fund. And then we pay for the electricity. There's some insurance, some housekeeping costs. And we are going to do an upgrade to some of the lights. We're waiting on the poles and the tops to come in. They haven't come in yet, but that's what we're waiting for this year. Then for next year, Dawn indicated that if we get the streetscape grant, we're gonna replace some lights. So all that we would need to do next year would be the wiring and that kind of thing. So we didn't need as much for next year. So basically, it's a pretty short and sweet fund.
It's basically like $1,000 more next year than this year, if I'm looking at that correct.
$1,000 for,
Well, yeah, but the 2022 budget was 57,000.
yeah, because it
23 is
came,
58,000.
it came in a little higher this year. And we're still not sure last year what the effects of COVID were going to be on our revenues, so we were very cautious. But we did pretty good this year, so I think we should be able to stabilize that now.
Annie,
Go ahead.
you said there's only $1,000 in terms of revenue.
That's the revenue, yeah.
I see 60,000 versus 70,000. That's a $10,000 difference.
He's just looking at the first one, 301,100. It was 57 last year, it's 58 this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's just
So
looking
I
at
got
that.
the current revenue.
Yeah,
Okay. Now I understand.
yeah.
So just out of curiosity, you said that it only handles the gooseneck lights. Doesn't this street lighting also include the historic lighting?
Yes,
And
downtown.
the 2 out of the 3 electric
Cars, or charging?
charging stations, because they're hooked into the street light poles.
If it's hooked in, yeah, then it would be. There's only one, I think, that has its own,
Right.
so, yeah.
So just some other information, we had the lights switched out to LEDs, several years ago, saved a lot of electricity. But all the lights that are on the gooseneck system are actually owned by West Bend Power, and we pay a lease fee. It's really difficult to even negotiate that, but we did save on electricity charges when we switched to the LED lights. But all the lights downtown, the old ornamental style, we own the light pole and all of that, so that's in this budget also. And that electricity goes through a meter, like has been mentioned. Even some of the car chargers are tied into those meters, so we pay the electric bill on that. But we own the actual lights, and from time to time we're upgrading those out of this fund.
Are there any other thoughts or concerns about the lighting budget?
I like it.
It's an easy one to get our heads back into the groove.
Okay, with that, I guess we move on. You had some other things
Yes,
you
I
wanted
do.
to present?
So let me
Budgeting.
change slides here real quick. One second here. Oh, I got it. 1 second. I gotta change something.
It's in.
You should have heard this by now.
I should have. I had it open, that's the problem. 2 seconds here. Let me see here. Let me just minimize Zoom here real quick. Trying to minimize Zoom here. Oh, there's a view. Exit full screen. All right, hold on 1 second here. So we're over here. And there we go. All right. Oh, it's actually up there. Okay. So what I did hand out a copy of the old budget style general fund. It's just a reference. We're not going to do too much with it this evening. I wanted you to see the revenues for the general fund and the different category breakdowns in the general fund to get familiar with it. Some of you came on in January, so it's fairly new to you. But if you look past the first several pages is revenue, and then you get back into like page 4, it's broken down by council, executive, ongoing mayor, treasurer, real estate, then general government, and then you're going to get back into police on, I think, page 8. Anyway, these categories have been broken down this way for a long time, thanks to Lori, and that's the way it should be. And the numbers on the farthest left-hand column are, I guess, derived by the state. The state uses this chart of account system so that all municipal budgets kind of have, let's say, real estate revenue in the same number category, such as 300.01. Across the state, municipalities are going to show their real estate revenue in that category. But my point is, get familiar with this. As Joanne was alluding to, I was listening, but it wasn't really formal yet. But we're going to still have to do some kind of formal budget, regardless, because the state uses these numbers regardless. And what we're going to do is supplement this style budget with the new format. So keep that in mind. We talked about switching to priority type budgeting, which basically has the benefit of showing program and service detail, that the current budget does not. So to emphasize that, I would like you to turn to page 13. Page 13 is the streets fund, or a streets category of the general fund. And I want to show you kind of the difference as an example this evening. And we're building into getting you familiar with this budget format. But this page 13 shows what you would ordinarily see from year to year in the general fund streets budget. But you wouldn't even see this till like late November. And there's not much time by then to make any decisions. And every category, the ones I mentioned, all have the same format: policing, streets, planning, zoning, hard. We see this in late November. The reason is we're capturing the last 10 months or so of revenue. Lori's moving to see where we're at to date with budgeting, transfer amounts. But by the time all that's done, these other funds are balancing. It's November. So keep that in mind, and we'll kind of go down through the new format. Take a drink here real quick. So I think Alyssa sent out some links today to you. Okay. I know it's short notice, but I want you to get familiar with this. This is a spreadsheet that you're going to see in your links once you open it. You're going to go down through the categories or columns. The first column is a detail column. And moving on over is a program list. And you can kind of see that this probably isn't quite finished, but it's a start of the different programs or services which within the fund. Take a look at that for a second. So each item is going to have a detail sheet that we talked about at the last meeting. And this particular sheet, these sheets are for council members and the mayor, the elected officials to complete. You're going to go through a couple different steps here. I'll kind of walk you through. You're going to look at the program. You can go over here and see each person, each elected official has their own column of goals. See, here's Brackville, and you just page over here at this arrow. There's Dan, and so on and so on. So you just page over to find your column. Let's page back here. Once you have your column, you're going to look at each service or program or service, and you're going to rank the program or service based on your thoughts and maybe some information on the detail pages I'll show you. And you're going to go over here and rank from 0 to 4, and we'll show you that too. There's 4 large categories of goals that came out of our strategic plan. So we're matching the services with the goals, and you're ranking them as best you think they fit in to these overarching goals. So in a nutshell, that's what you're doing, each one of you. Now, you want more information, obviously, than just one line item here. So that's what the detail page is meant to be. Last meeting we spent a little bit of time talking about tree planting, so I picked that out just to look at. So tree planting is done by the streets crew, and we go over here and look at the detail page. So it's going to bring up this, it's a fillable form, so these lines highlight when you take the mouse over them, but just as a couple points, streets again is the department, the service is a tree planting. We don't have the costs in. We're going to have to estimate some of this since this is the first year of doing this. And the supervisors have put in just a little bit of verbiage on what's involved in the service. Sometimes this verbiage is going to be more, sometimes less, but there's at least a little bit. And you remember last meeting we took some input from folks here, so we'll show you what we did. So on down here, you can see where supervisors scored. You can see their I guess consolidated score, and then there's another page I'll show you that shows you exactly how they scored. But this is the total score they gave. The supervisors are looking at these questions. Is a program or service mandatory? Can it be done by somebody else besides the borough, and so on and so on. So they're looking at those questions. I'll show you again their forms in a minute. But right for this particular program or service, we have comments from the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, myself, Dawn. The reason I like the tree service planning, we got to talking and we listened to your questions, is, Dawn might do the grant work, or he might do some of the administrative work that wouldn't be captured by public works. So this way, we're going to try to capture all the time associated with any as program or service. So we all get a chance to get our eyes on it. And then here, based on the discussion at the last meeting, we put in this question box. So let's pretend you have the links, and we may update links, but whatever you do, when you go in and there's a set of instructions beyond tonight, I don't have it right in front of me, but we sent out the instructions, and we're happy to go over those any way possible. Zoom, face-to-face meeting, what have you. We walk down through these steps again with you. But if you have a question for a staff member or you want clarification, this is the box to do it for this particular program or service. Every program or service has a separate box. And what we'll do is you put in your question, you save it to this box or this detailed form for this service. We look at it, we'll answer it, then everybody can see the same question and answer for this program and service. Yes?
So, I'm trying to see the process here.
Okay.
So you put your comments here, we ask the question, does your responses go back under your things, or do you answer them?
If we're answering your question, it's going to go in your box. We will have put, by the time you see this from the supervisors, they'll have answered their boxes, before they come in and meet with us. Not to say it's 100% complete, but they'll have tried to answer their boxes, like my box and Dawn's and Matt and Julie. We'll all try to answer any thoughts on tree planting, for example. You'll see our answers there. If you have a question for us, it goes in your box, or there's something we're missing or you want more of, you put it in your box and we'll answer you below your question. Generally.
So like a black text and red text. for
Kind
answers
of,
and-
yeah.
whatever.
We're learning as we go. But yeah, something like that. And this was, from feedback from our last meeting that we needed some kind of Q&A place that was manageable, and then it would stay there and everybody could see it. So this is what really Julie came up with, which I think is very, very good. So this is the detailed form. You're going to go to the spreadsheet first, and maybe you're not sure, you never heard of tree planting. This is meant to give you some background. And you can even, I'll use the term pencil in, make some notes. We're still going to bring the supervisors in at some, probably, each work session that's in relation to the fund or the category. For streets, we'd have Matt and Julie here, and we're going to have them sort of walk down through this. So you could pencil in your answers or even change your answers after you hear the supervisors in our discussion at that particular work session. So you're no hard and fast rule. You have more than one opportunity to complete the form, or you can change the form after hearing input from the supervisors. So keep that in mind. Again, what we're trying to accomplish is some system of prioritizing services under each category of the general fund. Again, if you look at this budget, you don't know where the money's going other than personnel, equipment, uniforms, telephone. If you don't know what is actually being done under this style of budget. So this is meant to help you understand where the funds are going, what services the community is receiving for those funds. And then we may have to prioritize, and that's the idea of the ranking. Is we have a scale, a ranking system that we use to give some credibility for maybe the day that comes that you have to cut something. So, but let me just say, there's a lot of ways that the system can be used. Reallocating funds from a low priority to a high priority, adjusting application fees. It's not just about cutting, it's about reallocating and shifting and all that as we get into it. So I want you to, really want you to get familiar with what's here once you get this, open it through your link. So we're down here at these tabs, and you're looking at what we call the spreadsheet. So again, we started with looking at the columns, the details, the department, the programs or services within that category of the general fund, your ranking systems over here. But all this is based on these tabs down here. So if you tab over and click on the scoring guideline for council, this is a little crazy here, but this is the background that you may want to review for the strategic management plan goal ranking. So as we said, it's a 0 to 4 scale. This explains what we're trying to say a 4 is worth, all the way down to a 0. This is a little bit more detail on what the goal means. These are out of our strategic plan again. Revenue, long-term planning, optimizing internal operations, environmental sustainability. Those all came out of our strategic plan, and this is meant to be the background to scoring or ranking each program or service within each fund. So you have that kind of on the left side of this tab, Scoring Guidelines Council. Then over here, I'm just going to page over to the right side. It's again just a little bit more of instructions. It tells you basically, I'm summarizing it. It tells you to look at the strategic plan, review that. You might find more information in the detail page is what they're trying to say. And if you have questions, fill out that box in the detail page and save your work. Save it there, and we'll respond, and that way our message is saved back on that page that everybody would see and everybody would have. So again, that's one of the tabs, Scoring Guideline Council tabs on the bottom. And then I just want to show you what we're working on is the transfer of the budget information. Again, we're going from this format, which has no detail, to a format that has detail. So, here's 2021 budget, fuel, maintenance, and so on. We're going over here as you go from left to right. Here we're getting into the detail. Traffic painting, paving, pothole repair, stormwater maintenance. Now we're going to try to show you where dollars and cents are going from here over to here throughout a year's budget, an annual budget. So we're doing a lot of estimating this year because we really weren't tracking this for that purpose. But starting in January, we're going to track it and have year-to-date numbers and work our way over. Working into the 23 budget, but it'll be actually for 24. We have solid numbers because we're capturing more accurate data. But I wanted to show you, you'll have this available. We'll see how much we can get through this system this year. But by next year, for sure, you'll have all this in one location, the budgeting information year to date, as well as the scoring information. Then we will have graphs eventually because we'll have data based on the scoring and rankings to go along with it. So we don't have that because it's brand new, but we will eventually. While I'm here, I just want to take a second. This is the budgeting steps that the staff's going through. A lot of it's going to end up on that detail page I mentioned. They went through, first of all, they listed the programs or services, look at tree planting. So we have each supervisor up here with their own set of, their own questions to rank. This particular ranking is done by Matt, the supervisor. And then over here's the assistant superintendent, Julie, with her numbers. And see, their questions are slightly different, but they go along with the priority budgeting format. Can the service be done by another entity? Yes or no, or maybe partially. So they answer, and then these are populated automatically. The scores are added automatically and then put in this total column. But they have the same detail page you do. So here's the detail page again. They could update any comments here. They're going to look for your questions. These are the same questions they answered in the spreadsheet. And you can see their score, whatever it was, ends up here also. And you can see, you know, each person's kind of going to be a little bit different. And then your questions, again, ours is on down here. There's council members and mayor, of course, would be down here. If you have a question or something, would be, you put it here in this detail box. So that's the spreadsheet. That was under, again, down at the bottom, these tabs, the staff budgeting tab, their guidelines for scoring. We're trying to be consistent, trying to all do the same thing. So they have their guidelines. Tab over. This is your spreadsheet. And again, all 9 council members and 1 mayor are out through this spreadsheet just by tabbing over. And then scoring guidelines. If you forget something, you're not sure, it's right here. Gives you the background for the goals and tells you if you have a question, go to the detail page and fill in the box for council members and save your work. Budget. Again, just some budgeting information. There's a lot to fill in once we start looking at the other, you know, policing and all these other departments under the general fund. And that's going to take us a while to put that in there, but we intend to do it. Any questions so far? Uh-oh.
Yes, on this list, under services, program services, you have personnel listed. What kind of information would you want us about personnel if we don't know who the people are?
Well, good question, and really when the supervisors come in, we're trying to say, you know, one person might be X number of dollars a year, and it's that particular line item might be 10% of their time. So we're trying to do kind of math, and we're listing, you know, we know that there's some labor involved, but right now we're kind of estimating, but it might be better if, like, the supervisor's here to try to explain how they're divvying up somebody's time.
So we would have a better idea of how an individual would be spending
Yes.
their time.
Yeah, we know we have, for example, we know we have 4 people in the streets departments. We know that's the labor. So we're trying to figure out how to capture time, direct and indirect costs for 4 people. And then it's a matter of, you know, for tree planting, it's 4 people for X number of hours, you know, per year. Snow removal, it's X number, 4 times X. So that we're running the numbers, but they wanted to put the labor in there to capture it. And I think the overall department cost would have it here, but we're trying to figure out how to transfer it into the new system.
Sounds fuzzy to me. That
We're
was the
working
same-
on
I
it.
have a question
Not
on
meant to
this.
be fuzzy,
So
but
the pink, the last time
Oh,
you
yes.
went over this, the pink
the pink,
is what we don't answer.
yes, thank you for reminding me.
So with the personnel, shouldn't that be pink too? Because if the personnel puts in their hours and the time they're spending, why would we need to do that?
Well, the idea was pink is a system or the service mandatory. You know, snow removal, the supervisor said yes. Leaf collection, we said yes. So that was the intent of the question. I mean, you know, we'd say, you know, is it mandatory you have labor? I suppose you could contract out. So, you know, of course, we'd work through the unions and so on, but the instructions to the supervisors were, and they were trying to clarify, if they thought it was mandatory, we put it in red. So if you look down here, you know, paving, it's mandatory that we take care of the roads. Now, they might say, when they come in, well, the work is mandatory, the labor could be contracted out. So we're trying to find that right happy medium for what we're trying to say in a simple format. But we started with, if it's mandatory, put it in red.
So what Randy just asked, if it's in red, we don't fill that out? Is that what you're saying?
I think that is the case. There was a set of instructions I was looking for. I got it here somewhere. I covered it up somewhere. Yeah, the last meeting, Julie, I'm sorry, I don't know what that means.
Maybe it won't even let you click in the block.
Maybe. Let me try one.
Yeah,
Now, the only thing, yeah, scoring, let me see here, let's try
maybe it won't let you go in.
4. No, you're right. So I tried to put a 4 in there. And a 4. No, there it goes. It's slow.
Yeah, I
But-
can do
So, yeah, so let me fill them in. Here's what we said, which Julie, we touched on this last meeting. Just trying to find the spot here, but anyway, we can clarify this. I'm trying to find it here, but anyway, we did say in red, here it is, any column in red you don't need to rank, it does not need to be ranked by council. These services are mandatory. So any column,
Row.
I think that's maybe what we meant by it. Says columns. Now your columns, see, here's your columns. But anyway, we can clarify that. It's not a problem. We'll clarify that.
Well, I want to get back to my original question,
Yeah.
where you have
We
the
can-
managers down here.
Yes.
Telling you how many hours
Yeah, so
your folks put in.
yeah, you're talking about like a detail page. So let me open one of those. There's,
No, I'm not.
you mean the detail, like here's personnel.
No, I'm talking about the personnel.
Okay.
What's if the manager knows and they're assigning the work, they know how many hours the people are working, what's the point of council putting our 10 cents in, or 2 cents?
You're seeing what they said on the detail form. I think I'm trying to answer your question, Randy.
Could you go to like detail 15 and click on
Yeah.
that and see what we see?
Yeah,
That might
no.
help.
Let me see. So this personnel streets, this is the lead personnel. This is the personnel cost, both direct and indirect, for a year, 1 employee. So that's all you have. So what we're trying to do, that time and cost is spread out on, multiple programs and services throughout the year. But we're trying to say, okay, 5% of the time of this person is, I'm making that up, but 5% of the time is on tree planting. So we're going to put a number in, when we go back to the tree planting detail sheet, we're going to put a value in there. And we're going to hopefully have the data as close to an estimate as possible. So to answer your first question, we have time sheets that they fill out, but we have to go through them and capture the data. It's not electronic, it's all hand going through time sheets. So going after January, we're going to try to come up with an electronic system and capture that data daily or weekly or whatever. But right now it's on paper. So we're estimating that the 4 people that planted the trees, each one was 5%. I'm making that up, so 5% of this value went into tree planting for 4 people.
So this is where it gets fuzzy for me.
Okay.
So you've got this personnel cost of 126, just make it 10%, just to make it easy now.
10%.
So that would be 12,669. If you're saying, and then that money would go over into tree planting. So why would we still be putting stuff in here if that's what they're estimating the cost is for tree planting? That's duplicating effort.
You're not. You're reading what they're putting in. But if you have a question for clarification, you're going to ask us. But you're not duplicating. All you're doing is ranking.
So what I'm asking is, why would we be ranking these if that 10% is already moved over to tree planting?
You're ranking this service in comparison to the strategic management goals. That's what you're doing.
That part I understand. What
Okay.
I'm asking is, this is detail number 15. In this case, it's the street's lead person.
Yeah.
You said that the head of Public Works is going to say this person spends 10% of their time, they're going to then take 10% of that personnel cost and move it over to tree planting. Why would we be going into the streets to re-rank their lead for overall everything?
There's other ways to perform the services. You know, we're listing the labor right now under streets. You know, it's 4 people in that area performing services. I think all we wanted to do at this point was capture the labor. I think we're going to convert it, once we get it down to all the services, those 4 line items probably will go away. Once we get everything
makes
listed, but
sense.
we want you to see what's in there. Right, we don't have the data today. We're going through papers, trying to capture it, but we know the totals. And we also know from, I want to give you, the current year's budget, streets, so you have a comparison. But likely, once we know we've got all the programs and services listed, and we can divvy up the 4 people's times, those 4 line items probably will go away. But right now, they're not. We're not quite there yet.
Okay.
We're
But
working
I
on
think
it.
I can see that over in the staff part and moving over. But when
Yes.
it gets over to us,
Yes.
as Brandy was saying, it doesn't make a whole lot
No,
of
no,
sense.
no. We're
It's one
just,
thing to see it, it's another to go over and put a different number down,
I understand.
because that's what's gonna happen.
We're trying to gather data, and as we do, we throw it on the spreadsheet. So if some of that will go away, and it's actually added into the programs and services, but it isn't yet. We're just trying to, think, well, okay, how many people did it take to do this service? It's kind of a reminder at this point, a calculator at this point, but it'll go away once we get deeper into this.
Okay.
So are the detail links not working at this point because it's not set up completely yet?
Yes, there are some that are active and some that are not.
Mine's not.
Okay. Did you check today's links by any chance?
Yeah, I just came in.
Okay, all right. I noticed a couple weren't working. I know we were given some instructions. We want to keep tidying this up, send out everything in a folder, or tell you how to go in, just like you go into your council packet. You'll come in. If you have trouble, let us know. It's supposed to be, that's what they said would work. So you go into your packet, which is password protected, and you can work in the folders and save it, so that way it stays on our drive saved, and we can see your questions and answer your questions. That way, if you save it back to your computer, we won't see that. So the idea was the same way into your council packet through our website or password. Let me go over that with Julie and Alyssa. They're helping me set this up, obviously. So, if it isn't working, or the links aren't working, or you can't get in, call, email, whatever, we'll figure it out what's not working, and get you into the system. So we want it smooth, we want it easy, we want you familiar with it. It'll take us a couple of years. There's municipalities that have been doing this for 10 years at least. It takes a while to capture the data and get familiar with it, convert from the old system. So it's a learning curve for everybody, but we're getting there. It's gonna be better, because even, citizens will know, well, where's these, there's literally about $3.5 million traveling through the general fund any given year. They're gonna see where the services and programs, how much they cost and where funds are going, which isn't clear in this older style budget. It just has the overall labor, materials, those kinds of details. So, any more questions? Like I said, we are working on sending out updated links, and more information. We're working with Gina today and last week on the HARB Planning Zoning Fund. I don't know if you have a couple minutes, I'll show you real quick. Like, I hope to, I'll try that.
Ralph, what's our timeline as to when these need to be completed?
We're gonna do it step by step, so we'll give you instructions. Like, the next work session, I could literally see us having the supervisors for Public Works, Julie and Matt here, to go over the streets department, Gina to go over planning, zoning, harb, maybe some of the general office stuff. So we'll give you instruction. We're gonna plan each work session, also with the funds being reviewed by Lori, how many she has will dictate how much time we have to squeeze things in. But we'll give you update meeting by meeting, you know, what has to be done.
Thank you.
Sorry, but what Buddy just said. So we would then wait, we wouldn't do anything until we come into the Harb zoning one, listen to them, and then we would go back after that meeting in Frankfurt?
You can do it, that, to me, that would be the best way, because you'd have the verbal input from the supervisors, you'd have the sheet in front of you. We could do paper copies, we're gonna make it as easy as we can, and, you know, but you could do a pencil, kind of what I call a pencil sketch of your answers, you know, but maybe you want to hear from the supervisors first, you can do it that way, or not finalize it, and you can, even when you say you're finalizing, you go back in the next day and change something. But I think it'd be advisable, just get familiar with this, what's there, have the supervisors come in, we walk down through, see if there's any questions on the programs or services, on the detail sheets. You know, if there is, we answer them. If there isn't, you know, then you can finish up your answers and submit them or save them. And that's generally how we think this will work. But just real quick, or wait, now let me see here. I got, see here, just to show you, here's the same spreadsheet, but for a different department under the general fund. Again, there's many areas or categories under the general fund. You know, this is meant to be planning, zoning, and harb. I'll just, you know, we're listing bigger categories, you know, basically the administration or staff for planning, for the planning commission, the harb board, and zoning administrator work, you know, administering the zoning ordinance, and enforcement administration. So that, in a very broad set of categories or items, programs or services, that's what we do. So just looking over here at a detail sheet of planning, you can see community affairs as a department. It's the staff work for administering or helping, assisting the planning commission. We have one employee that's involved in it. We do receive some revenue from some application fees, and there's a description. So, you know, when the time comes, we just walk down through this, summarize this, but you could see it before the meeting. You could read over it. You may have a question on application fees. When was the last time they were raised? You know, blah, blah, blah. Those kinds of questions is what we had talked about in the meeting. And you're going to see Gina scoring. You know, is the service mandatory? She's going to have an answer. Going to be done by another agency? She's going to have an answer. Could the fees be adjusted? Yes, no. So you're going to have input from Gina on this. And council, you may have questions. You can ask the questions before the work session, after the work session. You know, as we want to give you a head start instead of waiting till late November. That's what a lot of this is about. You know, usually it's late November, December, and you're just seeing the general fund. This is meant to get you a head start. And, you know, you may say to staff, explore such and such with planning and zoning, and in the next couple of weeks we can do that. You know, instead of waiting till November when we don't have any time, you know, this will give you a head start to look at options. Again, it's not all about cutting, it's reallocating, changing application fees, dropping low priority items in to help high priority items. It's a lot of that. So that's what's in the mix.
Hey, Rob.
Yes.
One thing to note about these sheets too,
Yeah.
just if you didn't notice, if there's a plus sign on that like blue box, that means there's more text.
Oh.
So you, just so you're aware, it doesn't just stop because it actually continues. And then you can scroll, once you're in the box, you can scroll and read all of the text, but see how it has the scroll bar there?
I did not know
Sorry, I used to
that.
be a teacher, I read a lot, so.
Thank you. So there's a lot of information on fees, and thank you for pointing that out, Gina.
Yeah, but with if any supervisor is putting lots of information, it's gonna expand, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mhm.
So that's it, again, the detail sheet for planning, there'd be one for HARB, one for zoning, and so on. And each area under the general fund will have a spreadsheet, and then we'll list the programs and services accordingly, and so on. So hopefully this has been helpful. We want to get you up to speed, send out your spreadsheets to work on. You can get familiar with them before the work sessions. You don't have to, but you can listen to the supervisors at the work session and then fill them out. If you get stuck anywhere along the way, we're here to help you complete the sheets and do your part. And hopefully at the end we'll prioritize what's important to us and maybe reallocate some funds and services, and hopefully not have to do anything with taxes this year. That's really the bottom line. They're trying to, if possible, work within the resources we have that we know that's coming in. So that's really our main goal.
Any other questions for Ralph? If there's no further discussion, we'll adjourn the work session, and we're going to move into an executive session till probably 25 after 7. Call the meeting, the Bellefonte Borough Council business meeting to order at 7:30. We welcome everybody to the Borough Council meeting this evening. We do our best to start our council meetings on time and end them on time, normally around 9 o'clock, or if not before. Due to the room acoustics, please speak up when talking so that people can hear what you're saying. All comments and reports should be kept to 3 minutes maximum. So we'll thank you to follow that guideline. Council chambers is open to the public with normal or standard occupancy levels. Face covering masks are optional. Masks are available at the sign-in desk. If you'd like to see the live feed and recordings of work sessions of Borough Council, you can watch some of those on YouTube, or you can also see it on CNET's Channel 7, or online at www.cnet1.org. And those are also on the agenda if we had agendas hanging out there. I don't know if we did or not.
There were some out there.
And you can also attend virtually if that works for you. You just have to call into the borough by 4 p.m. On the Monday of that meeting. So with that said, we'll stand for a Pledge of Allegiance and followed by a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Yes, roll call.
Mr. Benier,
Here.
Mr. Brackville,
Here.
Ms. Clayton, Ms. Dan,
Here.
Mr. Johnson,
Present.
Ms. McKean,
Here.
Ms. Purnell,
Here.
Ms. Sedgwick,
Here.
Ms. Tosti Vasey,
I'm here.
Mayor Johnson.
Here.
Okay, next item, additions to the council meeting agenda. In accordance with Act 65 of 21, if a matter is not on the agenda, council cannot take official action on it, with some exceptions. I thought I fixed that. Council can act on matters related to potential or real emergencies. Council may add a matter of agency business to its agenda through a majority vote. Council should state the reason why the action item is being added to the agenda. Are there any agenda items?
Yes.
Joanne?
I received 2 email communications this weekend regarding amplification at Talleyrand Park. I'd like to add those 2 emails to the written communication sections for discussion. I don't know if they'll be in motion or not. Because there's a concern that has been repeatedly coming up about,
Watermark?
yes,
Similarly, we received an email in regard to an agenda item. It's in regard to the request to add level 3 electric charging stations. It's an email that is opposed to doing that at the borough's expense, but it's here at the table. I know there may or may not be any action, but I just wanted you to be aware of it.
So you're adding that also in communications?
Yes.
Okay. So 3 items added to communications.
Yes.
Any others? Seeing none, we will move to the next.
we have to vote to say yes.
Oh, we did? Oh, okay. I thought we just had them. Okay. All those in favor of adding 3 items to the communications list signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we had nobody make the motion or second, though. You made the motion, but there was no second. There was none, we're just getting into it. Can I have a late second?
I'll second.
Bernier. All right. Going to move into public comment. I see a lot of people out there. I'm not sure.
One on the agenda.
how long
We'll
it's
start
gonna
there.
be.
I'll also take the one that's on the
Yes.
agenda.
So we have 1 person listed on the agenda. So you have 3 minutes to speak. Hold on. We have somebody already on the agenda. Lisa, do you want to come up and?
Oh, you mind now? You're on the agenda. Oh, okay.
All right, guys, I'm here not talking about Airbnb today. I'm here talking about 121 Curtin Street. I have emailed everybody a video so you could kind of see how it really is two-bedroom apartments. One of the things the gentleman made reference to was that I was some greedy developer from State College wanting to get cash from the poor Bellefonte residents. And I totally disagree with that. I would like this house to have 2 units. I'd like to give 2 families homes. The house is a treasure, but it's going to cost to keep it up. I mean, I just have been working on the radiators, and the estimate for the radiators is $10,000 to have them scraped. And it takes 36 hours per radiator. And I'm convinced that I want to restore this house, not remodel it. I could have ripped all the radiators out, put all new radiators in, but I'm really taking my time because I think this is such a gem. And so I hope that you all will approve my variance. Am I allowed to ask if you guys have any questions since I'm on the agenda? I'm not allowed to ask that? Am I allowed to ask if you have any questions?
No, because we don't convert it back. It's just public comment.
Okay. All right, so I hope I answered all your questions. I hope you vote yes for 121.
I'd like to follow, because it pertains to her project. Her project is...
Let me,
Oh.
one thing. When you come up, give your name and address and what you're going to speak about.
Okay.
This is better than the next.
Nancy Perkins. I live on Curtin Street in Bellefonte. Talking about the Harvey Apartments. That's how I know it. And I hope you had a chance to read my previous letter about this project. This property could easily be designated for the National Register of Historic Places in Pennsylvania. This was talked about several years ago with people who could make that happen. We didn't pursue it because COVID hit. Offices are shut down. We just haven't done that. But it could easily be characterized as a property on the Historic Register. When I visited Edna Barger, who used to own the property in the 90s, I could see how exceptional the layout was. It's very homey. It's not what you would typically call an apartment. It's 2 homes on 2 different floors. And the change to a single-family home a number of years ago really was never successful. The kitchens are small, the bathrooms are small, it doesn't work, and it would take an extraordinary amount of money to make it a single-family home that would be successful. So I think that what Lisa has planned, which is a restoration of its original intent, would be something that really reinforces our interest in historic preservation. We claim to be that. We have a HARB, and I think that this variance would be fitting for you to all approve so that she can move ahead and restore it to what it should be. And I hope you will approve. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on 121 East Curtin Street?
Hi, my name's Trish Weidman. I live at 435 East Curtin Street. I am friends with Lisa, and I've been working with her on the 121 East Curtin Street project. And my understanding is that the zoning office had approved the variance. And then it came here, and another Curtin Street resident complained, and you all tabled it. I'd like to know how much it would cost for the Bellefonte Borough Council to sue their zoning people, because that's what you would have to do to take away the variance. And as a cost accountant, I don't appreciate the looks. As a cost accountant, I want to know what it would cost the taxpayers for the Bellefonte Borough to sue their zoning office, because that's my understanding of what needs to be done. So, thank you.
Any other comments on 121 East Curtin? Seeing none, I'll take the next person. Joe?
I'd like to apologize to council because I'm going to try to honor your 3-minute limit, because I'm going to talk fast. Joseph Griffin, 133 North Spring Street, Bellefonte. I'll start with a suitably aquatic observation made by John Donne, the Dean of St. Paul's Cathedral, in a 1642 sermon. No man is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as if a manor of thy friends or of thine own were. These days, no man is an island is taken to mean that we are all interconnected, that we need to depend on one another. My comment is about the proposal to remove Bellefonte Borough from the Spring Creek Watershed Commission. The situation we're considering is an inverse of the one sketched by Dunn. Instead of imagining that our little piece of land is unconnected to its surroundings, we are tempted to believe that water, the universal solvent that flows wherever it will from place to place, is somehow our own property. The notion that we should stand apart from the other members of the Commission posits that our water is ours, and certainly not subject to the whims of our neighbors who have joined together to form the Watershed Commission. Water's quality and quantity affect our health, happiness, and prosperity. Our town, surely the shiniest bead on the necklace that is Spring Creek, seems to have grasped this in the past. The very name of our community is said to refer to the big spring from which we derive our water. We have honored Spring Creek by building a wonderful park to escort it as it runs through our downtown. Two of our major roads are called Water Street and Spring Street. Who can own water? Surely it's the most transient thing in our lives other than time. The water I've paid for and used to make my coffee this morning is already on its way to Spring Creek, the Susquehanna River, and eventually the Chesapeake Bay. I couldn't hold it if I wanted to. Water belongs to nature, like sunshine and wind, but nature allows us a usufruct right to this essential resource. In plainer words, people may use water and enjoy the benefits of its use, but no one is entitled to damage it, because it's not their property. Before and after serving us, water sustains other people, animals, and plants, while filling still mysterious roles in the realms of biology, geology, and meteorology. We share water with just about everything. 12 municipalities form the membership of the Spring Creek Watershed Commission. As far as I can determine, we are downstream from 10 of the 12. What they do will surely affect us. Only Milesburg is further down Spring Creek than Bellefonte. Our beloved Big Spring is primarily charged with rain falling on the Scotia Barrens, which lies in Ferguson, Half Moon, and Patton Townships. All those townships are members of the Watershed Commission. Can it be our interest to ignore the others around our water hole? Are we special? Can we not communicate about a resource that by its nature must be shared? Or is it unseemly pride that makes us long to depart from our 10 friends upstream and Milesburg below? Thanks.
Same topic, Spring Creek Watershed. My name is Mike Prendergast. I live at 218 North Spring Street, and I'm not going to be as eloquent as Joseph, but I'm also not going to be as long. I've only got 2 questions. What would be the benefit to the residents of Bellefonte to removing us from the commission? And the second question is, are there any negatives to the residents of Bellefonte for doing that? That's all I had to ask.
Any other comments on the watershed?
Hello. My name is Paul Takak. I live at 1341 Shamrock Avenue in State College. I'm also currently the chair of the Spring Creek Watershed Commission, and I'm an elected member of College Township Council. I just wanted to briefly talk to you about your potential action regarding your membership in the Spring Creek Watershed Commission. As has been mentioned, it's comprised of 12 municipalities in the watershed, and our mission, as spelled out in the Articles of Agreement, is to protect and enhance the natural resources found throughout the watershed, as well as the quality of life of our residents. It goes on to say that it's a voluntary organization which provides a menu of services to participating municipalities. And like any other commission or committee created or appointed by council, we have absolutely no regulatory, taxation, or enforcement authority. It's an advisory body, and we promote communication and cooperation on watershed-related issues. We also support education, outreach, events, public meetings, research, and advocacy for those watershed-related interests. And I think at a cost of 10 cents per year, it's a great value. In my opinion, the Spring Creek Watershed Commission is a vital linkage between the municipalities which share a common interest in preserving, protecting, and enhancing this precious and irreplaceable resource. I appreciate the importance of the Spring Creek and, of course, the nearby spring to the residents of this community. After all, it gave the town its name. The reality has been pointed out that all of the water, surface water, subsurface water, all emanates from an underground reservoir within the watershed. It is all our water. Everything that happens upstream affects what comes out of the springs and what flows through town here. And I believe we are all responsible for preserving, protecting, and enhancing this precious resource for ourselves and for our future generations. And I believe that the Spring Creek Watershed Commission helps us achieve that mission. Therefore, I respectfully request that you table this motion to withdraw from the Spring Creek Watershed Commission in order to allow for further discussion with myself and other key members of the Commission. Speaking on behalf of the Commission as a whole, our hope is that Bellefonte Borough remain an active, vital, and contributing member of the Spring Creek Watershed Commission. Thank you very much. With your permission, I also have a brief statement from Dr. Bob Carline, who is the chair of the Spring Creek Watershed Atlas Project. With your permission, I'd like to read that, if I might. This is Dr. Bob Carline. The Spring Creek Watershed is blessed with an abundance of high-quality water, but this was not true for many years. From the early 1900s until the late 1960s, large sections of Spring Creek had poor water quality owing largely to inadequate wastewater treatment. Through the collective efforts of state, government, and local municipalities, wastewater treatment facilities were upgraded and now produce high-quality effluent. Over the past 100 years, we have learned the importance of shared goals and intergovernmental cooperation. The Spring Creek Watershed Commission provides an excellent platform for developing shared goals. Bellefonte Borough is an integral part of the watershed, and its continued participation in the Watershed Commission is vital to achieving those shared goals. I urge the Commission to continue to play a lead role in the Commission. Dr. Robert Carline, and I can submit this by email if you'd like. Thank you all very much.
There was a young lady back there that was...
Hi, everyone. I'm Tally Fisher.
And I'm Andrea Morrell.
We are co-chairs of the Tally Rim Park Committee, which my parents founded along with their friends years ago. And I just have a brief statement about the Watershed Commission. As the co-chairs, we respectfully ask the council to table your vote to remove the borough from the Watershed Commission, and provide time for public input and further discussion about the implications of this vote, be it one way or the other. Tally Rim Park is a destination, not just for borough residents, but for visitors from all over the county and beyond who come to enjoy our beautiful park on Spring Creek and our amazing historical town. Community members, the borough, everybody has worked really hard over the years to enhance and protect the waterfront, the trout, the stream that makes this place so special. The Park Committee would appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this discussion, if possible. And all the other communities along Spring Creek corridor have a representative on the commission, and we feel like Bellefonte should remain active in discussions that impact our watershed as a whole and our community. Removing Bellefonte from the commission could potentially impact opportunities, including improvement projects, grants, and funding for the waterfront that we have worked so hard to help provide. It's, as other people have mentioned, it's non-regulatory, and Bellefonte can agree or disagree with what the commission plans are, and we're just wondering why the borough would want to remove the option to have a say in these important decisions that impact the park and the borough and our community. So we just ask that you reconsider voting to remove the borough and wait and maybe have some further discussion and input from the community.
We appreciate your reconsideration. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm going to provide this. Do you want any written statement?
Yeah, can we submit a written, yeah, okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Spring Creek Watershed.
I'm Doug Mason. I live at 1084 Gaynor Road in Patton Township, and I represent Patton Township on the commission. I wanted to echo what Supervisor Takak said earlier about tabling the motion to withdraw from the Spring Creek Watershed Commission until we've had further discussion and the public has had more opportunity for input, because I only heard about this on Friday, and I don't know how far the word has gotten out, but I think there's a lot of people who would like to comment who aren't aware of it at this point. I also represent the Sierra Club Mashading Group as chair, and as an environmental organization, we totally support the science-based approach that the Spring Creek Watershed Commission uses in evaluating the problems of the creek. And I think that obviously a piecemeal approach won't work if we start withdrawing and start trying to manage it piece by piece. It's just not going to function very well. So I would just like to ask that you please give more time to the public and for further discussion with people involved in the Watershed Commission to have further discussion. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else?
Nancy Knoll, and I live at 176 East Lynn Street. I'm flabbergasted. The mission statement that I found online for the Spring Creek Watershed Commission states that it exists to establish a long-range vision for the watershed that represents a consensus of thoughts and ideals that are commonly shared by the people of the Spring Creek Watershed, unless you live in Bellefonte. To establish a leadership role within the watershed to advance and coordinate projects and programs that are consistent with the long-range vision of the Spring Creek watershed, regardless of the impact that it has on the borough of Bellefonte and its residents, because if we pass this resolution, we'll have no more input into those decisions. To develop a long-range comprehensive watershed management plan and a program of meaningful associated projects to protect and enhance the quality of life within the Spring Creek watershed. Do we not want to protect and preserve our recreational and economic interests in areas beyond the borough? They are also very important to us. When I fly fish, I am not in the borough. I am in the Spring Creek watershed, but I'm not in the borough, and those waters are very important to me. And it's very important to me that Bellefonte has a say in maintaining the quality of those waters. A reduction in the quality of our fishing habitat will certainly have a negative impact on borough residents, both economically and recreationally. Without proper management, we risk losing much of our history. Numerous historic places, not only in Bellefonte, but in Boalsburg, Lamont, and Benner Township, will be impacted by improper or lack of management in future years. Without participation in the Spring Creek Watershed Commission, how are we to ensure adequate response to climate change, increasingly heavy rainfall, and stormwater runoff, destroying our streetscape and polluting our streams? We have amazing talent on Borough Council, but I firmly believe that it is not enough. We need to tap into the broader range of talent and teamwork through this commission. The watershed provides recreation for borough residents and impacts the economy of our community. We need to be involved in the bigger picture to protect our interests beyond the borough. We may not be isolationists. We need to work together to protect the Big Spring and ensure adequate water resources for our greater community. Remember, it is not our water. It travels a long way to get here, and climate change and development could cut off that precious supply. Let's work together with the Commission to protect it. Thank you for your attention.
Jennifer Hooven, 534 East High Street. As an environmental educator, I could talk for a while about how important our watersheds are and what a vital resource they are to our community. But instead, I'd just like to say that I object to the motion to leave the Watershed Commission. And so, additionally, I would also like to ask the council for some transparency surrounding the conversations that would have been had between the borough and the borough authority that arrived at this decision.
Anybody else before me?
You can go.
No, go ahead, go ahead. I've been here.
Bill, I have, this is Helen, I have a,
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jenny Lynn Schuster, and I live at 553 East Lynn Street. This is a matter of public safety. Water is public safety, and I'm just curious, as a resident of Bellefonte, if due process was followed. Like everybody else, I was kind of surprised to hear that there was a vote on the table tonight. And I'm also curious, what is Bellefonte's plan to maintain our facilities to ensure there's not another pollution event? And what if one does occur? Spring Creek is not just Bellefonte's water. The Watershed Commission establishes a long-range vision for those that share Spring Creek. Most impacts to our waterways and fisheries are coming from outside sources. While other towns are impacted by the polluting of Spring Creek, it would be catastrophic for Bellefonte. A major pollutant or invasive species would close Talleyrand Park and kill the fishing industry for years. The leading industry in Pennsylvania for outdoor tourism is fishing. Outdoor recreation and tourism is one of the fastest areas of economic growth in Pennsylvania, and Bellefonte is positioned to be a leader in central Pennsylvania as a destination. We sit at the base of the Pennsylvania Wilds, which has experienced a 50% increase in outdoor recreation in the past 5 years. According to the U.S. Department of Commerce's Outdoor Recreation Satellite account, Pennsylvania outdoor recreation is contributing to 150,000 jobs and $11.8 billion annually. Bellefonte needs new forms of revenue in order to offset the limited tax base that we know that we all have here. As a member of this community, I believe it is important to have a say on programs, grant, and planning. Removing Bellefonte from the Spring Creek Watershed Commission could have major economic consequences. It is our most valuable natural asset and should be proactively protected.
One person online, and we'll come back. Okay.
Helen, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Helen DeFilippis. I live at 133 Brown Avenue. I'd like to echo many of the comments that were made about the motion that is on the agenda to leave the watershed. As a resident, I chose Bellefonte because of the water quality, because of the environmental activities, and because of the dedication to our community to keep the water clean and as a source of life and enjoyment for all of us. I do not support leaving the commission at this time. I would like to hear more discussion. I'd like to hear how we came to this decision, and I would ask that we thoughtfully consider any steps we take in this, because we not only forfeit our voice, we forfeit so many things in the future that could impact our community in a negative way. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just left a
Okay, my name's John Eaton. I live at 546 East Beaver Street. I used to be one of you guys. I'm also a Water Authority member. I'm not here speaking for the Water Authority. I'm here speaking as myself.
And I am the alternate representative to the Spring Creek Watershed Association or Commission. And beyond all that, before the 37 years that I came here, the rest of my life and for 4 generations, my family lived downstream of Spring Creek on Bald Eagle Creek at the discharge of Sayers Dam. So I will tell you that coming from that aspect, being that my life involves living in both the Beach Creek watershed, the Bald Eagle Creek watershed, and the Spring Creek watershed, we are truly blessed to have a group like the Spring Creek Watershed Commission active in this area that touches upon not only the premier academics at Penn State, also accessing the Fish Commission, Clearwater Conservancy. Well, I recognize you from there. Yes. And in multiple other nonprofit organizations that have been focused on improving our environment. We have a tremendous database of information that will not only, as Dr. Bob Carline has indicated, provide you a wealth of information on the health of the stream, the surface water, but we also have a wealth of information that describes the structure of our hydrogeology. If there was anybody involved at the Bellefonte School District, Earth Sciences should start at the Spring Creek Watershed Commission, reviewing that data and instructing our students on what our watershed is. That is how good that database is. So, why is that important? As Dr. Carline indicated before, history. It's only 22 years ago that we took down the signs that said, this water is polluted with ketone and murex. Do not eat the fish. Now, it was 1976 when they found out that fish had dangerous levels of murex and ketone due to discharges from Nice Chemical Company. For those that don't know where Nice Chemical Company was, it's just up the hill from Lesser Lumber on East College Avenue in State College. Okay. So in 76, they found it. 78, they quit stocking fish in Spring Creek. And in 1972, they figured, oh, well, it's unsafe. Maybe we will issue a do not eat the fish order. So thank God they did that. So for close to 20 years, it was do not eat the fish out of Spring Creek. And so that's the environmental impact. As I was relayed to by Dr. Perzak from Penn State, that event resulted, that pollution event in the groundwater, resulted in Corning building a water line from Bellefonte to Corning plant. Because their on-site well system, if they actually went to full production, they feared that the wells would be drawn down so low that they would induce the contaminated water from the neighboring Nice chemical plant. So there you have an environmental impact on the groundwater. Why did, pardon me?
Your time is almost up there.
Okay, so why was Bellefonte spared from that groundwater? Well, if you go to the Spring Creek Watershed Commission, you'll find out that Bellefonte's water comes from a fault that runs from here to Half Moon Township, all the way along. Now, why is that important? Today, we're looking at the growth in Benner Township, Patton Township, and Half Moon Township. That growth is right on top of the fault that feeds our water. Where will their water come from? They will access the same water we drink. So, we should be talking to those people, in my opinion, to make sure that we are working as neighbors and not meeting one another in court and arguing over water rights or whatever in the future.
The Watershed Commission is a first step. It allows you to know what's going on. People can discuss. They can do it in a friendly manner. I heartily recommend staying within the Watershed Commission, and remember, it's not a regulatory agency by definition, and it's voluntary. You can leave any effort they do, but if you don't talk amongst the communities, your neighboring communities, you won't know what they're doing. And communication is really the first step in productive government, in my opinion. So.
Good evening. I will not be loud. Good evening. My name is Laura Reddington. I live at 602 East Lynn Street. I share the concerns of the people who spoke before me. I question what benefit it is to the borough to leave the Watershed Commission. And I also call for transparency in what led to this motion. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would recommend that we change the agenda. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm Melody Kim, and I wasn't prepared to talk today until I've heard the stories. And I just want to tell you, I live in the house for the cemetery, and I'd say the last few weeks, the cemetery people were out there, and they were what were they using on the stones to clean them? And this sounds silly, but it's not. It's hard. It's part of our heritage that we need to do that. And so I've seen that, and I see them out there, and all over the place. They're like little bugs, but they're needed, and I never thought that I would be talking about it because, but what are they using for the stones? It's water, and it's water coming from our I can't say it. Anyway, coming from water that we have. And I don't say that just for the cemetery. I say that for all the other little things that we do that we need the water for, and it's not going to be there. And then what? That's what it, in my mind, when I'm looking at the guys coming doing that stuff for the cemetery, I think, oh, what would happen if they, if they couldn't do that? So that's all I had to say. I wasn't prepared, but thank you for listening. Thank you.
I would request that we change the agenda to address this new business item, the Spring Creek Watershed Commission. If we could do that next and have the folks have their decision either way it goes. We don't have to keep them all evening. That is listed under new business. It's the third item under new business.
Do you want to talk to transparency of this?
Oh, we can bring it up for a motion in a second. We can chime in.
All right, so we're going to move forward with the motion that's on here. So I'll make a motion, and this is for discussion. We have to do this for discussion. Spring Creek, I'll make a motion. I'd like to call for a motion and second to remove Bellefonte Borough from Spring Creek Watershed Commission by revision or amendment to the ordinance originally adopted by Bellefonte Borough. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Kent
I will
Bernier.
second that motion.
Second by Doug Johnson. Discussion.
I'll try to chime in here as the administrator. I work with both the authority, the borough authority that oversees the water system, and of course Borough Council. since about last September, October, thereabouts, when there was a discussion about the One Water Plan and the activities, the phases of the plan. There was concerns from the borough authority who oversees the water resource as well as the distribution system, legal concerns about representation and which way and who should represent or who should designate representatives on the commission. So from September, October of 2021 till now, that has been unresolved. And there was a legal dispute, or I'll say threats of a legal dispute between the two bodies. And because it's a legal matter, we were in executive session, and there was not a lot of give on either side of who's going to represent. And basically, for how many months it's been since September, we haven't, almost, a year, over a year, we haven't got anywhere. And when we put an action item on the agenda, it doesn't have to go the way it's worded. It's to get a direction. It's whatever motion, second, discussion takes place. That's the intent. Where are we going to go? Are we going to make a decision? Are we going to have a legal battle? What is it? So that was the intent of an action item being listed on the agenda at this point in time. So I can allude as much as I can, but that was the start of a legal issue between the borough authority, who rightfully owns the Big Spring since 1959 and owns the distribution system. All of the water system is owned by the borough authority, not the borough council. And the borough council has a management agreement with the authority to manage the system through the personnel, the resources we have here as borough employees. But there was a legal conflict because of the discussions with the One Water Plan last September, October, that kicked all this off. And it's been unresolved till today, and maybe further, but that's what kicked it off. And we've tried many sessions on both sides to get it resolved, but there's been lack of movement, lack of giving in, lack of compromise. So it was listed on the agenda to try to get some direction. I know there's a couple members here that maybe add some more, but that's the background to the action listed on the agenda.
Okay, any other discussion? Joanne?
I'd like to make a substitute motion to move that Bellefonte Borough remain on the Spring Creek watershed while allowing the Water Authority to make recommendations to council for the representative to the Spring Creek Watershed Commission on an annual basis, has outlined in the Articles of Agreement, with the caveat that the representative and the alternate both be members of council, and they can make I'll speak to that after someone seconds it.
I'll second that.
We're just going to make this an amendment to the...
As a substitute, because it completely changes what happens. So what happens in terms of Robert's rules is, if this is accepted as a substitute, then we just vote on that and we totally exclude the other.
That works.
It's easier that way.
Okay. So we have the motion is restated to stay with the watershed and allow the Water Authority to choose folks to sit on that committee.
The elected official.
Elected official.
The alternate would both have to be on council.
But they're both currently not on council. So
Right now.
But you're making it on council.
One is on council.
one is, but not the other.
Yes.
Currently.
Currently.
Yeah,
so-
but the other one is not, yes.
So the
The
discussion.
motion's changing that.
No, the discussion can be, if you look at the Articles of Agreement, at any time, you can remove, Borough Council can remove,
We have a motion and a second, and this is what we're working with right now.
and I'm
not gonna go
discussing it.
around.
That's what I'm discussing.
That's not what I'm understanding. I'm hearing an argument about the motion than it is, and who's going to do what.
Well, I'm trying to explain what the motion does based on what Ralph just said. Is that okay?
I don't know, I'm not here, I'm not understanding it, so go ahead.
So Ralph said that we only have one person on council who's currently a member.
That's elected, yes.
It's elected.
Yeah.
And we have one person who's on the water authority, who's the alternate.
Right.
The Articles of Agreement says that the member who is the elected appointee has to be a member of council, which is what we already have.
Right.
Which is me. You can at any point during the year change that out, but usually you only do it in January. So there could be a decision to wait until January to make that change, or you can do it immediately, which means you'd have to do it this evening because the next meeting's on Wednesday. That's all I'm saying.
But to clarify, I'm summarizing what the authority wanted to do. They wanted to pick the two representatives, the main and the alternate.
Right. And then they take them to bring, and it brings it to council, and the council would rubber
Affirm
stamp that
it.
decision. Yeah,
Affirm it,
that.
yes, okay.
Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so we're clear.
More discussion.
Yeah, we have more
Yes, so
discussion.
there's a motion to accept staying with the Water Commission.
Correct.
And allowing the Water Authority to choose the people, one of which needs to be an elected official. Or both people need to be borough council.
Right.
Because you say elected official, does that include sheriff, mayor?
It would
Okay,
include
so
any of
borough
us at this
council,
circle.
right? I
Yes.
mean, they're elected officials.
Yes,
and we,
that is
you know.
correct,
Yes.
All right, let's do it.
Is there any more discussion?
Any other discussions?
Would this take effect immediately, or would we wait till January, or is that another decision?
That would be up to the Water Authority.
Okay, okay.
So,
They're not, they only meet once a month, so they wouldn't be able to make a decision at the earliest till October.
And after this, there's only one more meeting in November. So it's,
Okay.
no.
It's likely that it would be the new year.
Okay, I just
I'm
wasn't
not
sure.
saying that I can't guarantee that, but it sounds
Yeah.
like the timing,
Yeah.
it appears that way.
Thank you.
that sounds- Anybody else have any discussions? Okay, I'd like to speak on something, so pass the gavel to Doug. And I wrestled with this when this came up as to where my thoughts were with this, and I'm kind of, based on what Ralph said earlier, I'm comfortable with that, and I'm comfortable with this motion. So with that, we'll move on. No further discussion. All those in favor, I'm going to do this off of memory. All those in favor of the Bellefonte, oh God, you got me all messed up. Go ahead. Do you have it? Just read it off. Do you have it?
Yeah, Bellefonte Borough staying in, with the borough, with the Spring Creek Watershed, and the representation would be two elected officials from Borough Council that would be appointed by the Borough Authority and affirmed by Borough Council.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want a roll call vote?
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Yes is you're staying, no is you're going.
Mr. Bernier,
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill,
Yes.
Ms. Clayton,
Yes.
Ms. Dan,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. McKean,
Yes.
Miss Purnell,
Yes.
Miss Sedgwick,
Yes.
Miss Tosti Vasey,
Yes.
all yeses.
All right.
Yay.
Jump back. You got me all messed up now.
People don't have to stay unless you want to.
We'd love to see this many here every year.
Yes.
Yeah, if we were a club, we could be like selling dollar things.
50-50.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. I wanted you all to see this. My name is William Coble. I'm 679 Spring Creek Road, and I do have a value in the Spring Creek thing, so I'm glad I stuck around. But I would like for you to honor this, what you did back. It's about the short-term rentals. And we have spent time and money developing our short-term rentals, and now you want to take them away. So I am asking the borough to please consider looking at our short-term rentals and grandfathering them, or whatever we call it nowadays. I think everybody knows what grandfathering is, so I'm not going to get into that. But we would like to have our group be represented or grandfathered in this new, or outside of this new ordinance. Because we have been nothing but straightforward. We've been compromising, which I have not seen one person, and I've been to these meetings before, I have not seen one person come up here, and when I was in attendance, to say that they were against it. While we all sat here and pleaded with you to take our side on, not our side, but our view on this into account. But apparently that has fallen on deaf ears. And I have not seen or heard of anybody on the other side of this come to the table with any kind of compromise, any kind of goodwill, neighborly will, unlike us. And now we are getting punished for doing what you wanted us to do. I don't think that's fair or right. Thank you. Oh, I'm the model now?
Before I start, I'd like to say I'm very disappointed that the rest of the crowd was excused. We sat and listened to theirs, and we have trouble getting supporters here, and it would have been very nice to have the public that was here see our presentation. So thanks for excusing them. I'm sorry about that. My name is Bruce Cifelli. I live at 719 East Curtin, and this is the invite, you all have a copy now, that we have referenced throughout the entire STR ordinance draft process, and I hope it is not the first time you are seeing it. It was distributed to residents in the community. It has the official-looking designations of both the Code Administration and the Borough of Bellefonte. It clearly states, Bellefonte Borough and the Center Region Code Administration invite you to join us for an informational session on how to go about getting into the short-term rental game, and it was held here in this room. Together with my conversations with the zoning officer, this led me and many others to believe that Bellefonte was in favor of these properties. Little did I know an ordinance was being discussed to heavily regulate and eventually remove them from the majority of the borough. This was never divulged during the application or permitting process. We have heard many speak of other ordinances, and speaking to a few, a resident mentioned State College reinforced their ordinance before posting it, and I applaud them for recognizing the issues and working to correct them. Mr. Brackbill spoke in agreement with College Township's limitations of 45 days. One thing that has yet to be mentioned is while other townships have formatted an ordinance to meet their unique communities, most, if not all, allow this STR model to operate throughout their community, including the R1 and R2 districts. These towns recognize positive impact these homes have on its owners, the local businesses, and the community, and are working towards permitted inclusion. Bellefonte continues to head the opposite direction, choosing regulated exclusion over inclusion, and will end up being the sole municipality excluding tourists and guests. The known issues for the STRs in Bellefonte are related to one property and a primary complainant living in an adjacent homeowners association. The rental sits on a hill, and due to unfortunate acoustics, conversations project to adjacent properties even at normal conversation levels. Many, if not most, of the concerns that have been filed by residents are living in homeowners associations and the historic district. With different expectations, with different expectations of a neighborhood than other residents, we hope this is taken into consideration when drafting a borough-wide ordinance. It would be horrible to restrict the liberties of all because the influence of neighbors who choose additional restrictions and bylaws, or because two neighbors have difficulty settling a dispute. We feel this ordinance is unfairly supports one business over another and creates a pyramid structure with future STR owners on the outside looking in. The current STR owners are on the bottom, commercial properties outside the residential zones are in the middle, and the bed and breakfasts have the full support on top. We hope the entire council takes a clear look at the STR model before posting the draft, especially for those of us who were committed from the beginning to make their STR work for not only themselves, but the entire community. I'd like to add one thing because of the LLC that was brought up tonight. I am an owner-occupied who established myself as an LLC to protect myself, not to make money as a business, but to protect myself. I took on the LLC tab, and I understand that there are 10 brick and mortar units in the residential zones, along with maybe 17 home-occupied businesses in the residential zones. And I also wonder if they're an LLC and if they'll be held to the same standard. Thank you for your time.
My name is Susan Farrow, and I live at 530 East Beaver Street. With all of the positive experiences that we STR hosts, and many of us who have also stayed at Airbnbs and other short-term rentals, with all the positive experiences that we've had, it's very difficult for me to understand why there's so much distrust for STRs and STR models. For example, even though Bruce Cifelli produced the date that he attended the informational session, which you now see the flyer of, he was challenged multiple times about whether that actually even took place. There was such distrust and unbelief that this actually ever even happened. And a significant amount of time, money, and resources has been placed on tracking down STRs to see if they're operating with a permit. And we're not against this, but it makes us wonder what level of monitoring and trust exists for other businesses and rentals in the borough. A quick review of Google and the borough zoning map reflects that at least 10 brick and mortar businesses operate within the R1 and 2 residential zones, and we wonder if they have any additional restrictions or if they received full grandfathering into the residential zones. We wonder if they operate with freedom from parking restrictions, and if not, are they monitored to ensure compliance? Another review shows 17 in-home business ventures in the R1, R2. These are permissible, but under certain supplementary regulations clearly identified in the zoning ordinance. So I wonder what effort, if any, is put to track them down for permitting and to ensure they conform to the zoning regulations. Parking, number of employees, and customer visits, business type, and space designated for business are all regulated in the ordinance to be enforced by the zoning officer. And while bed and breakfast establishments are permitted to operate 24/7, they are required to meet the minor regulations of their ordinance. They are not required to pay additional permit fees nor supply information on how many or what or when guests stay, as you're proposing in this ordinance for STRs. And I wonder, are they monitored to ensure that the owner or supervisor remains on site when guests are present? Are inquiries made to ensure that traditional bed and breakfasts don't exceed stay limits or that parking regulations are followed like you want to put on STRs? So I point, and we point these out not to have anything changed, but to shine light on the level of trust that exists between the borough and most businesses. And we STR owners and hosts would gladly accept this same level of trust. Thank you.
Barry Croker, 191 East Curtin Street, Bellefonte. It's been about 3 years now, I guess. Certain Bellefonte Borough officials concluded that short-term rentals posed a clear and present danger. They needed to be addressed, and the way of doing that was with what I perceived to be a novel and radical zoning regulation. An initial draft of the proposed STR ban, which is really what it is, received just criticism from local homeowners who recognized it as a significant threat to their property rights and, in some cases, their livelihood. An association was formed, Bellefonte STRs, and members began meeting to address problems with the ban, which has now turned into what seems like a kind of a labyrinth of regulation. I have personally appreciated the receptivity of council members, some council members at least, to some of our suggestions and input, but I feel that a number of arguments and concerns have been dismissed summarily. It's unfortunate. The Bellefonte Borough Council is not operating in a vacuum. I understand there are several much larger municipalities that have experimented with short-term rentals, New York, San Francisco, Anaheim, Santa Monica, and the result for them was the same: costly legal battles, adversarial relationships with property owners, enforcement headaches, and ultimately failure in achieving their desired objectives. There is an instructive editorial online at granagus.com called Short-Term Vacation Rental Bans Gone Wrong that I recommend as a resource for borough members. I offer the advice of the editorial writer who cites the cities of Denver, Los Angeles, California, and Vancouver as examples of municipalities that are following a different path. That path is to explicitly identify the unwanted behaviors and negative consequences of these short-term rentals, if they can find the problems, and then devise specific, practical policies to mitigate them. This is an approach I don't think that the council has considered seriously, and I would recommend this path as a far safer and more thoughtful approach that will enable our town to share in the benefits of the growing STR industry. I would respectfully request that you would permanently table the motion to regulate the STRs other than the existing zoning regulations. Thank you.
Seeing no other comments, we will move on to communications.
First one is St. John's Catholic Church Christmas pageant in Talleyrand Park, using the gazebo side of the park, looking for approval for Sunday, December 18th from 1 to 4, along with that waiver of the reservation and deposit fees.
Make that motion.
Yeah, well, there's actually going to be two motions
Oh,
in
I'm
this.
sorry.
in this.
Did I miss something? Okay, I'm sorry. All right, well, there's a second motion. So one's, I guess, reservation of the park. The second one is the fees.
I'll make that first motion. Today's meeting.
So, the first motion is to approve St. John's Catholic School's request to use Talleyrand Park gazebo side on Sunday, December 18th, 2022, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. for their Christmas pageant. I have that motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Johnny Jantoki, and Ken Vernier.
Okay, discussion on this. I don't see on this where it says about waiving fees.
It must
It's
have.
saying one letter, it's asked to waive the fees.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's,
On the,
that's the second motion.
Yeah.
on this, they did.
Yep, I see it. Okay, any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Now, the second motion has to do with the waiver. I'll ask for a motion and second to approve the waiver of reservation and deposit for the Christmas pageant.
I'll make that motion to approve the waiver of the deposit and reservation fee, but not the administrative fee.
I'll second the motion.
Not the reservation fee.
Correct. We've never,
No,
The admin
Give me an
fee.
admin
The
fee.
They weren't asking
They
for
weren't
it.
asking.
Yeah, they were
Just
asking.
wanted to be clear.
Okay. And who's second, Doug?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the waiver of the reservation and deposit of the Christmas pageant, not including the admin fee, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Good, all good, or no, you all good?
Yep.
That one, okay. Next one, HBI Annual Halloween Parade request to use certain streets downtown Saturday, October 29th. End up at the gazebo, start at the elementary school. So looking for road closers for that.
Yep, so we have two motions in this as well. So I'll call for a motion and second to approve HBI request to hold the annual Halloween parade on Saturday, October 29th, 2022, with the parade ending at the at the gazebo in Talleyrand Park. Do I have that motion?
I'll make the motion. Johnson.
I'll second it, Purnell.
Okay, we have the motion by Johnson, second by Purnell. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next-
Second,
I'm sorry.
second motion is to approve the street closures beginning at 9:30 a.m. from the East Lynn Street and North Allegheny Street intersection to the West Bishop Street and South Allegheny Street intersection, East and West Howard Street, West High Street, and the corner of the West High Street and Water Street. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll second again.
Shawna?
McKean and Purnell.
Okay. Any discussion?
Pretty much the same as it's always been every year.
Yeah.
Yes.
How far up East and West Howard Street?
It's just at the intersection crossing Allegheny. They're going down Allegheny.
It's going from the elementary
Nope.
school down to the park.
Okay,
That's where it always is.
okay, and High Street, okay, it just
They
doesn't,
start there, once it's through, then it opens up.
okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion
Hold on
to,
a second. Just one other additional question. In their letter, they said that we needed to notify the Allegheny Street Farmers Market vendors that the road will be closed at 9 a.m.
That's up at the courthouse,
Right.
right at the intersection.
And so basically, I'm saying, who are we giving that responsibility
We
to?
will take care of it administratively,
Okay,
staff.
that's just want to make sure it happens.
anything else? Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion to the street closures beginning at 9:30 a.m. from East Lynn Street to North Allegheny Street intersection to West Bishop Street and South Allegheny Street intersection, East and West Howard Street, West High Street, and the corner of West High Street and Water Street. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. These next few items that he's going to report on have no council actions requested.
Yeah, the one item could be a future work session, which we'll work with the officers to schedule that. So that I'm talking about the disc golf proposal set up for Governor's Park. We can schedule that into a work session and invite the person who spoke to us about that.
Okay. You missed one.
Skip.
You missed
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry, I thought that's when you were talking about. Well, you said several items. So the one is informational. It's the Pennsylvania Sustainability Summit. It's FYI for your information, October 3rd through October 7th. There's no fees from what I saw. You can attend virtually. That's what it is?
As I understand, the first day is like 5 hours. The rest of them are like lunchtime webinars.
Okay, very good. So, yeah, just touching on the disc golf, we talked about that. There was a letter from a resident in regard to the level 3 electric charging stations. And I mentioned a letter that we received opposing that. It's there right now for just as your information, unless you want to, someone wants to do a motion or something.
We can just move it to a work session later on.
I do have some additional information, if that helps. After I saw the email that was sent to Buddy, I looked up to the Department of Environmental Protection's website, because they're the ones that handled the Volkswagen funding. They said that had completely used up, but it sent me to the Drive Electric PA Coalition website, and that one said there are no funds remaining for the level 3 charging. All 4 funds have been awarded or committed, and applications are no longer being accepted. However, there may be funds available through the bipartisan infrastructure bill passed by Congress and signed into law by President Biden. I went to the White House website, and they say that there's a total of $7.5 billion nationwide to, quote, provide funding for the deployment of EV chargers along highway corridors to facilitate long-distance travel, as well as within communities to provide convenient charging where people live, work, and shop. Unfortunately, that website did not say if this was, if the level 3 would be only on the corridors or if we could get them in local communities. So that's got something you have to do, and that would be where we go in the workshop.
That would be a good topic for the work session.
Right, exactly. So, you're welcome.
Keep going. There's a thank you letter to the Bellefonte Police Department for assisting with the Herbie's Hometown Loop special event. I want to thank everybody involved. And then there was the letter which was referenced by Miss Perkins, who was here, was here, is still here, about the Preservation Foundation and 121 East Curtin Street. So that's there as well. We talked about a couple of the items at the table. I think we went over those. So I think we're...
We have one more.
One more?
Yeah.
What do we do?
There was 3 emails from 2 different people.
Okay. Regarding noise, yes, okay.
Yes, the complaint we've heard last year, earlier this year, and again this weekend. And it's related to amplification of music, day and night, that they say that they indicate is higher than our local noise ordinance, basically, to summarize real quickly. And one of the second one that I got from her was talking about that it not only includes what happened this weekend, but some of the other amplification of some of the other events, including movies in the park, is causing problems that they would like to have this addressed by council.
Did someone measure the noise, dBs?
I don't know.
Well, they're saying that it's
They-
about what
they-
it was.
yeah,
So
there's-
where did that information come from?
She said, I don't know. I can't answer that. All I did was brought forward the emails
Sure.
from it, and this is something that we will probably have to check into.
Well, I don't know, buddy, maybe we could talk to the police and have them, and around there, and just checking to see what the music level sounds like, because I don't,
And this is just for special events, this is not on a regular
No,
basis?
this is special events. This was
Special
the
events, movies?
movies
for-
in the park, the church music that goes for 24 hours. They did stop between 10 p.m. and the 7
Right, because we had said they had to stop.
But to clarify, the event that over the weekend, that was not 24 hours, was
No,
it?
I don't know, but there was still a complaint about the loud level of.
I think it was during daylight hours, is
This-
that?
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, I know I heard it yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, or Saturday, whichever one it was, which kind of surprised, because I usually don't hear music in the park where I live. But, so I guess if you live closer, it could be more annoying or disruptive.
I could hear it in the living room, in my living room, but I often hear things from the park because of the way I'm up here. It's down here.
Is it just that this was that loud, or when we have the concert series in the park, can you hear that also?
I can hear that too, yeah. Not quite in the living room. I'm usually out brushing my dog, but yeah.
I was just trying to gauge if this event just had really, really loud music,
I
or...
very rarely hear the music in the park. This I heard for several hours. And I remember once with the evening movies, hearing it at my house.
Could we make it part of the application process or a stipulation for events that involve amplified sound, that it be kept within a reasonable, pick a range? I don't know
We
how
can
you would
try,
do that.
actually, we have some line item or something on the new application. It's very hard to measure, that's the issue.
Well, we had another very popular two-day event here a couple of weeks ago, and where I am up on top of the hill, I could tell you pretty much what Miss Melanie said when she signed off at the end of the event. It was really loud up at the top of the hill, and maybe it was the wind, but it was pretty obnoxious.
We don't get that band show.
Well, that's pointing the other direction. That's half.
And I know with the noise in the park too, like, they probably crank it up a little louder every time a motorcycle goes by.
Yes.
Revving, and the vehicles that go by making the extra noise.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes you're trying to
Yeah, it's
counteract that, but yeah, it shouldn't be.
find a happy medium
It should
somewhere.
be 6 or 8
amplified through
blocks,
town.
10 blocks away.
I agree with all that, and as mayor, I am all for special events, and I know we brought up like the movies for the kids, it's very popular, they enjoy it. So that, yes, we should monitor how loud it gets, but at the same time, maybe a little extra understanding that this is not on a regular basis, just a good event that benefits the children of our community. I don't know if the 24-hour church event is something, if it's that much of a hassle, maybe it could be moved elsewhere. But these are some good things for our community that are bringing people in and is enjoyed by many, especially the movies in the park and the concert series and things like that.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll move along to consent agenda. And I'm looking at pulling the minutes, the McLaughlin invoice, and the budget versus actual. I think, is Roy still there? No. Anyway, I had a question. So let's go
Which ones are you
let's.
Only the first three.
Yeah, I have the minutes, the McLaughlin invoice, and budget versus actual 2022.
So do you want me to make a motion on pulling those or?
Yeah.
Approving
Please.
the last three? What's your?
Let's,
I don't think we have to do a motion,
No.
just by request.
Okay.
Yeah.
so let's go ahead and have a motion to approve the budget versus summary August 2022, treasurer's report August 2022, and voucher summary August
So moved.
2022.
I'll second.
Motion by Doug Johnson. Second by Barb Dan. Any discussion on those items? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, do the minutes. Well, let me run down through mine because maybe I'll hit some of yours. So, under public comment on page 2, top of the page, Chris Morelli was the one who spoke on the zoning change for 121. Farther down the page, it starts with Dan motion and McKean second. This is for Friday on the font. There was an amendment, and what I added on there was a motion to amend by Toasty Vasey to provide details on serving alcohol. And then on the bottom of the page, under where it says Faith Center, Toasty Vasey made the motion and Clayton second to approve. I think that's one you were missed on. On which one?
The one you just mentioned. My name wasn't there at all.
Right, yeah.
You said it just seconded, but there was no firsting.
Yeah, I caught that on CNET, actually. And then on page 3, Bart Dan made a motion and Sedgwick second on the conditional approval of the Veterans Bridge. And there was an addition on that about bridge availability. That was the conditional issue on there, whether the bridge was available.
It's there already though, isn't it? It's already there.
And then the next paragraph below the Lions Club, Sedgwick motion and Clayton second to approve the Lions Club use of parking spaces. This was for the annual rib sale.
Lions Club.
The Lions Club, yeah. There was this Facey motion to amend the times of events, and those were left out, so the times were put back in. The times of the event was 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then there was a note on something that I saw, Joanne, a resident sent a letter regarding a possible abandoned vehicle on East Lynn Street. An officer had spoken to a resident, that was Chief Weaver who had that conversation.
Yeah, and what I said was, replied from the police department was included.
And the other one I have is, you had mentioned under the 2022 Municipal Leadership Summit, we had made the motions about the delegates and things like that. But you had mentioned that likely was missing
Yes.
from that, and I looked at seeing that, and I watched it twice, and I did
So
not see
we-
that.
We had a motion to table the decision until the end of the budget. That's why I added likely, because it makes it a very short revision to that particular paragraph. That's,
Okay, because I thought it was tabled until budget started.
we said until we looked at the whole budget and then made a decision, which would be the end of November, beginning of December.
Okay.
So that's why I added the word
Okay,
likely.
but then you go ahead and give that addition to Dawn if you already have it. And that's all I had
Yeah.
for that.
Okay. Do you want this?
Yeah, please.
So then the next item was, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the amendments to the minutes of September 9th? Joanne?
Second. Go ahead.
Dan?
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, and I don't need a motion on this. I just had a question on the invoices. I had a question about the amounts due. It says on the second page of this, total balance due, 30 days is $510, and 91 to 120 days is $334. And I'm just wondering why they're so past due on that.
I have to check with Lori.
Because we have a total balance due right now of $844 with it.
I have to check with Lori.
It may be.
Could have passed.
Yeah.
But I guess we check.
I can check with Lori. Yeah.
And then on the budget, on the first page under expenses, it shows year-to-date, that column, and the next column, annual budget. There's zeros behind police department upgrade expense because there was no money there. So I'm wondering what, there was $33,580 police department upgrade expense. Do we know what that was?
I know we hired a architect, so I'm assuming that some of the expenses, we hired an architect to look at options. But
That's pretty expensive options for only being with this place for
I'm
2 weeks.
I'm only guessing, Mr. Brackville.
Well,
I can give you the detail after I talk to Lori.
What was one of my concerns was getting too many people where they're doing too many things, and we don't even own it yet. And now, but
There's no expense on the new building.
That was for the
Yeah.
old building.
To review
preservation of the old
the
building.
designs for expanding the police
Exactly,
department.
which was approved
And
by
Ralph
council.
said that it was about $30,000
Well,
or so.
I don't know the exact number, but that would be likely.
So,
There was an expense to do the options of
Okay.
renovating here, which was approved by council, early this year.
But this is some of the stuff we still have to keep an eye on
Yes.
when we're doing this,
Oh, sure.
because, that can get expensive.
Sure, yes.
And, now we're not doing that anymore, so we spent that money and it's not there anymore.
Well, we approved that before we had.
I know.
Yes.
I know. I'm just saying.
We need-
It's stuff that we still need to track as that progresses through. That's why we formed the committee that we did.
Yes.
You want to give the names on that at some point, Rob?
I have to refresh my memory.
So the other question I had was the Parkview Heights stormwater management. That's the what's his name?
We hired.
Pannoni.
Yeah, we hired Pannoni to
Okay,
do
just wanted to
the
confirm that.
groundwork.
So that was it.
so I have a question. Since we don't have an answer on the invoice, can we table that one to the next session and then go ahead and
It's only
accept
2
it?
weeks. I don't think it'll be that much of a difference. It's up to you. You could
I don't think we need to
approve
table
it.
It's not, if it's billed, it's already been billed, so it'll be fine. I just wondered why it was showing up where it was.
I mean, we could prove it and find out, and you could get the information, but it needs paid,
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So let's have, I'll make a motion, or a call for a motion and second to approve the amendments that we already did to council, so I guess just for the Stover McLaughlin invoice, that we approve that, and also the budget versus actuals 2022. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll second McKee.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Now we go into reports.
Mayor's first.
Mayor, yeah, Mr. Mayor. Sorry about that, keep forgetting.
Chief Weaver and the Bellefonte Police Department continue to make foot patrol point of emphasis. Just a reminder to the community to make sure if you're a business owner or you have a storefront to lock your doors. I know maybe you're in a hurry to get out of there at the end of the night, but believe it or not, our police, when they check, they find some unlocked doors. So be sure to, if you're a store owner, to lock your doors at the end of the night.
It's in the packet.
And I have a question. So, if he could ask this back, in the report, he describes an incident under trainings and seminars that sounds almost, if not identical, to an actual mother-son incident in the report.
So,
The
Mayor,
po-
yes, you got it.
It sounds, that this training and seminar sounds almost identical, it's almost like if it's not identical to an actual mother-son incident that was in the report.
Yes.
In the previous. Was this just a training, Sarah, or is it more info on the mother-son incident?
I will get to my guess is it's more info, and maybe it should not say trainings and seminars.
Exactly.
I will get with Chief Weaver and get you the answer to that.
Okay, just didn't make sense. 'Cause
Nope,
it sounded
absolutely.
so much alike. that it was like-
Absolutely.
Moving on to Community Affairs.
Hi, everybody. Under HARB, there are no action items. We will be having a meeting next Tuesday virtually via Zoom. If you would like to attend, just let me know and I can get you the Zoom link to that. There are several items for review on that agenda. I do have a demo permit. As always, council has to formally approve demolition projects. I did put the plans in your packet, and I know they got small, and I meant to bring the hard copies over here, but it's a pretty straightforward. It's for 181 or 1081 Zion Road, which is the new Armory Brewery that is going to be hopefully there soon. What they're doing is a demolition of the CMU blockage garage doors, demo of the existing interior CMU wall, and then at a later date, some of the flooring is going to be demolished to put in new drains for the equipment. And this project, in addition to just sort of looking at the big scope of what they're going to be doing, they will be submitting land development plans pretty soon. But we had our representative from PHMC out there last Friday to kind of walk around, which is really cool. And the PHMC is going to continue to work with them on their various projects, but this one in particular has the green light and is, ready to go. They're really not doing any demolishing anything historic there. So, if there could be a motion to approve that.
I'll call for a motion and second to approve the demolition project at 1081 Zion Road, the Army Brewery. The motion?
I'll make the motion.
Barbara Dan. Second, Deb Clayton. Discussion. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't see it in there. I just want to be clear that the demo is only at the garage door and the interior. I want to make sure that there are no non-weight bearing structures of the cinder block building are going to be removed?
Yes, there's no non-weight bearing.
Okay.
Their intention is just to reopen up. The doors were cemented over.
Okay.
So they're removing that in order to
Okay.
create doors.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this project is very greatly anticipated by our community, and I know I've been getting some questions. Will council be notified, like, as to when their plans are to opening or starting their business, or?
Sure. I think we'll have a better sense of it whenever the staff and council, subsequently council, sees land development plans. I know that they're, between the architect and the engineer and PHMC and the owners, they're getting ready to submit some informal plans, and they're kind of working in pieces. So they want to get the cement building up and going first, because that's where they're doing the brewing and stuff. So they're working in pieces, but they're very close to getting something official in front of borough's eyes and, county planning office eyes and that sort of thing.
That helps, because
Yeah.
as I'm out, there's a lot of excitement in the borough of Bellefonte, and that is definitely one of the things people ask me about, and I just haven't known how to answer.
Yeah, it's a very exciting project, and the property owners are super excited to be here. They say they couldn't have found a better place. They're just thrilled, so I'm excited for it too.
Thank you.
Ross, maybe you want to tell the mayor a little bit how that process works. Once the land development it goes to the planning commission in the borough.
Yes.
And then they make comments with Gina's also input, and then it goes to the county planning. And then it comes back with their signatures.
Yes.
And then planning also approves it again, I guess.
Yeah,
sort of.
right.
And then it comes to borough council to approve it finally, after the recommendations by the planning. Is
Yeah,
that
you guys
accurate?
get the final say,
Yeah.
stamp of
So-
approval on the plan,
It
so.
takes,
That was,
it takes about 2 months, once the planning commission says, let's send it to the county, and the county takes their time, and then it comes back, and then it comes to us.
I'm a rookie at this, so
Yeah.
thank you. No, I appreciate it.
You know what? I am
appreciate it.
too, so.
No, thank you. I didn't know that process.
Although I guess
That's
I'm not
great.
anymore, but yeah. No, it takes a while to learn the process.
Sure.
You know, so.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Was that approved, or were you guys still
We
in the
still
middle?
have, we haven't had the motion yet.
No, you had the motion.
Motion, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have Art, Dan,
It
and
was your
Okay.
question in the discussion.
Okay.
I call the
Any
question.
other discussion?
Call the question.
Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the demolition project of 1081 Zion Road, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then we have nuisance codes. I don't think there was anything submitted. Gina has more.
I do. I just.
I'm not saying it.
Everyone else got to talk a lot tonight.
Well, yeah, but time's getting long.
Yeah, so I just, for what it's worth, I wanted to mention that I did do a walkthrough of 121 East Curtin, and I did take some photos that will be submitted to the property files. As it's already been stated, that property is set up as a duplex and has not been altered in any way. And to also, I know that Mr. Holderman has a memo under old business to vote on, but this was a dimensional variance that the zoning hearing board granted based off of like a 17% deficiency of having 2 units on that lot. So, and of course there were other factors in consideration of that zoning hearing board decision.
So can we go ahead and move this up, since we're on this topic? And so can I have the motion then for not to appeal to the zoning hearing board?
I'll make that motion, Johnson.
I'll second, no. Thank you.
For now, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And then finally, and I will be done, I I left comments in my memo for my attendance at the Active Transportation Summit meeting. Ms. Tosi Vasey was there as well, so she was a part of that conversation. I did have, just for what it's worth, I would like to correct my own error on my first bullet point that I said that we were not part of the CCMPO, and we are. So, just...
Technically,
We're a member.
we are a member through the Nittany Valley.
Yeah, well, yes, we're joint, we have one
There's
vote.
several of us.
Right.
It's not just exclusive.
I had Mr.
to
Stewart
take my
explain that
Bellefonte
to me. Yeah.
Even though I'm biased towards Bellefonte.
Sure. But we do have a vote as the Nittany Valley Joint Authority.
Exactly. Not
Yeah.
just Bellefonte.
Right. Yeah. And everything else you guys are capable of reading. If you have any questions about that summit, please reach out to me. It was great, and there are a lot of follow-up resources that I am more than happy to share. And there also is an upcoming free webinar on active transportation that I will send you guys the link if you want to sign up. It is, I think it's next Wednesday evening, so about an hour.
I got an email just to follow up on which is I got an email from Jenny Lynn Schuster, who's the one who organized this. And she's going to be putting together a working group.
Right.
That's made up of several people who attended that meeting to basically create what we started last year, among other things, which is the Complete Streets Plan. For those of you who don't know, we can get around some of the PennDOT rules if we have an ordinance that
Right.
has a Complete Streets Plan in it. And DBI would like to take the lead to help make that happen.
Yeah, and Sam Pearson mentioned that in the WalkWorks program as well, and I think there was like a bullet or two I sort of alluded to that, but I can elaborate, you know, how
And the
to.
other thing we need is money. That's
Yeah.
one of the reasons that we're not doing much with it, because we've talked and talked and talked about all these changes we can make and making streets, and, you know, we got people coming in with their bikes and they're on the sidewalks instead of the street. To me, they should be using the street.
Yeah.
It's there.
Right.
It's already there for them. It makes no sense that they're on the sidewalks.
Yeah.
And we have these lanes and alleys that could be utilized for pedestrian and bikes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's out there, it's just, you have to be outside this box, because you can't be tearing up streets in Bellefonte to make a bike path when you've got parking on both sides. I mean, there's so many things that are in the way.
Right,
But then
there's
that's where
more
the
to
costs
it than
are.
just ripping up the street, taking away parking to add biking. It's certainly no one's suggesting that. It's a very complex, active transportation is a very complex process, and money is a big part of it. And, you know, DBI is happy to be a partner at the table to go after some of these large grants that would be able to help us move towards a more multimodal community. So. Thank you.
Just real quickly, Gina.
Yep.
You said we have a hearing board meeting on the 27th?
Sure, I guess I should say that publicly. It's in the packet, but there is another, there is a zoning hearing board meeting next Tuesday, September 27th at 5 PM in council chambers. And the notice for that has been advertised in the newspaper and also at the property, which is 316 East Borough Street.
What was the date and time again? 5 p.m.?
Tuesday, September 27th at 5 p.m. And that is a change. Normally it's 5:30, but we had to, just conflict, we had to move it up a half an hour, so. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, moving into the liaison reports, we've had one from Bellefonte EMS. Dawn Holderman had submitted one from Bellefonte Environmental Advisory Board Committee. We had Nittany Valley Joint Recreation Authority, and if I hit something that you have a question, stop me. With the Penn State University Sustainability Projects, submitted by Mr. Holderman. Union Cemetery Association, submitted by Mr. Holderman. Zoning Hearing Board, Ms. Thompson submitted. Bellefonte Borough Authority, submitted by Mr. Johnson, Doug Johnson. Center County Airport, also submitted by Mr. Doug Johnson. Next would be the Spring Creek Watershed Commission. Mr. Steve Acey submitted that report. And I believe that was all the reports.
Early safety for you.
I was looking, I seem to have a lot, yeah, that must be
It's on
on.
the next page.
Yeah, I must have missed that.
Mr. President,
may I
may
make
a comment,
Yep.
please? I don't think we have to go through those individually. If we can see these, I mean, if there's, I would suggest if there's questions on a report, ask it, but I don't think we have to
Well,
list.
sometimes it's they either list it and instead of going back and forth on them, and it doesn't take that long.
That's just my suggestion, to move things along.
Doing the best we can.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Okay. So that goes away. Yeah, there's the rest of it. Okay, now we're into current and old business.
Do you want me to go through?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. We took care of the zoning hearing board memo, so we're down to the commuter resident long-term parking memo Mr. Holderman put together in response to something that came in, I believe, at the last meeting. So it's there for your consideration. There could be a motion to.
Yeah, I'll call for a motion and second to eliminate the free 1 hour parking in the long-term red parking permit spaces effective January 1st, 2023. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll second it. Dan?
Discussion? Joanne?
Yeah, considering what we've had on the public comment and wanting more transparency, I would prefer we postpone passage of this motion until we allow the public to make their comment before we take away their 1 hour free parking.
I think the issue is that people who have a permit are coming in to park and can't park because somebody's already
I
there.
understand that, but I think we need, in order to give the public on all sides a chance to have a say, I think we should probably put something on the website, say, what are your thoughts on this? We hear what they have to say, and then we can vote. But that we at least give people a chance to have a say on what they would like and not like.
And I've heard people talking during an event and saying they don't really come to Bellefonte because they don't know where to park. They're confused. Well, they were confused about the red spaces. They didn't know they could park in the red spaces to start with. So parking to them was an issue as to why they don't frequently come into Bellefonte. So there's some of that too.
So my question would be, we have some number of red spaces and we have some number of permits. Are we overbooked or we're not overbooked? So is there a 30% surplus? Dawn, I know you might not know this off the top of your head. I'm curious to know how does it make sense data-wise that people can't find a parking space with a permit? You know, if there's 100 spaces and we have 40 permitted, you would assume that it's likely they'll find a place, but maybe I'm wrong on that.
No, there would be a space available, but the thing is depends on what part of town that that you're working and you want to park, probably want to be as close as they can.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're ever on the Bishop Street side, you've got a couple options. If you're in the middle of town, you can be on High Street. If you're out on the post office, you could be out on that end of Allegheny. So, I think there's so many reasons, Doug, but I think if you saw there was a report in the packet that, we showed and reflected, how many people have the resident or commuter parking permits, and on average, it's about 75 a month. And there's about 120 to 25, red parking spaces that we have. So there's always spaces available.
It's just not convenient, probably.
Well,
So
I'm
what-
basing it on the comment we received at the last council meeting. That was that person's issue, is that where that individual wanted to park must have been in an area where people were using the.
So what? I guess because I'm not too bright. What would be the alternative if we take away the red spaces? What do we put meters on them, or what do we do?
Well, I don't know if you may recall, the rationale for not putting meters out in the, in the long-term parking area is because the meters themselves cost about $350. And at the time, what we were charging for long-term was basically a quarter for 4 hours. So if you get 50 cents a day, you can calculate, you would have probably been somewhere after the first year of it being utilized every single day just to pay for the meter itself. That was part of the determination to, go to permit parking, which, I mean, we've got a number of people that are pretty consistently using the permits
Yeah,
every
that
month.
was sort of what drove us to make it convenient for some downtown residents or some residents in this.
So all we're doing is talking about eliminating the 1 hour free parking, not eliminating the
But so-
spaces.
But I still
Okay,
think.
I guess we need to,
I'm not comfortable voting for this, knowing we haven't had public input from commuters coming into town, from the residents, and from everyone saying, is this a problem for just one person, or is this a big problem for lots of people?
You can table it.
Again, it's just that we're addressing the 1 hour, and it's stated in the packet that they have no way of determining how long someone's been there. It's not like State College where the guy runs around in the Jeep with the little chalk marker to know if it's been moved or not.
Right, it's impossible to enforce that.
Yeah.
And I think it is frustrating to people that do have the permit. And I also think that it should be, I don't know if you can put something in your windshield, or if they're checking them now by, I assume they're checking them by license plate, if they're being checked. So I would like to get rid of the 1 hour free. I think it's confusing for people, and then they're afraid, if I go over the hour, what happens to me? So, and I don't think we know if they've been over an hour.
So would we reduce the number of red spaces then and meter the spaces?
Yeah.
No, we would leave it as is. I mean, actually, I think it's been pretty effective personally. I mean, the only thing that isn't effective is the enforcement. It's hard to enforce.
Just to clarify, you can pull into a red metered space and park there for an hour free, no harm, no foul.
Right.
That's the part that's being considered to eliminate.
Right.
Because it's hard to enforce, if not impossible.
So all those spaces that people aren't using with a permit will be left vacant, I guess.
Well, apparently they're saying they're not vacant now, and there's not enough room for the permittees, I guess. That's what they're saying.
But
You can purchase a day pass with the red parking spaces, so,
I just
people
don't
that want to
want
be
to see
there.
empty spaces, red spaces, not being used because people can't park in them even if they want to pay for parking like a meter.
And how do they know to get that day pass for the red parking?
I agree.
I didn't know there was.
Hang on,
Could you put a sticker on the red meter that says permit parking only?
But there is no meter on the
There's
red
no meter.
spaces.
There's no meter. There's a sign every so many feet, and there's red markings on the
Well,
street.
then how about a sticker on the sign that says permit parking only? Contact, QR code.
My thought is, if we have, this is fiction, 100 permit, or 100 spaces and only 25 permits.
75 are permitted.
Okay, so who's going to occupy the spaces that we're taking that opportunity away for somebody to park in a red space if there's no meter there? That's confusing to me.
I see that differently because people have said to me, and I've thought this too, why do I buy a permit if there is a free 1 hour, and if everybody's parking for a free 1 hour, I can't park in that anyway. So I think it's confusing from both sides. And I know that on High Street where I am, there is almost always a red spot open.
Now, that would be, I would say, Doug, that could be something that we can look at. There might be some spaces, particularly on High Street, where if you wanted to go and get a few more meters and convert those back to metered space, you know, that would be an option for council to consider.
I'd also think next to Bonfato's on,
Those permit spaces, every single one of them is purchased every month.
okay,
Every one of them.
okay.
I just don't want to see those spaces go unused, red ones, when we have people who would be willing to pay a meter to park there. So maybe we want to adjust the number of permits compared to the number of red spaces that are available. Maybe not, but I don't want somebody to come into park and it's a red space and nobody's using it all day long. If we put a meter on it, we could.
Well, the red spaces in a lot of instances designed for the people that
Sure.
have a residence
Yeah,
that don't want to feed a meter
Okay.
All day long.
Any other discussion?
Was it to table it or to eliminate them at the beginning of the year? That's our motion, right?
That's the motion, based on what Dawn had sent out to us.
So, do
So
we need
I-
a second?
Seeing none,
I'd like-
You made the second.
Yeah, we have a second.
I'll make a motion to table for public input purposes.
Okay, so we have a motion to table. Is there a second?
I'll second.
My comment to your second or your motion is, we do have time between now and the first of the year to discuss
Yeah.
it, so I don't think it's
Yeah.
a bad idea to table it.
Okay. All those in favor of tabling, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next item, this was up at the last meeting, the YMCA Trick or Trot and the Fall Festival on the same day, October 29th. We need to, I guess, take this off the table. Let
Yeah,
Mr.
first
Cracknell-
I'll call for a motion, second to remove this YMCA Trick or Trot and Fall Fest with in Talleyrand Park on October 29th from table.
So moved, since I made the table motion.
I'll second it, Clayton.
Second, Clayton, Trustee Basie and Clayton. All those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So now we have a motion and second to approve the YMCA Trick or Trot and Fall Fest in Talleyrand Park on Saturday, October 29th, 2022.
I'll make that motion. No.
Second,
I'll second Sedgwick.
discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the YMCA Trick or Trot and Fall Fest in Talleyrand Park on Saturday, October 2022, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And the next one is a call for a motion and second to close South Potter Street from West High Street to Center Oil and Gas, 294 South Potter Street, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for a hayride. We have a motion.
I'll make the motion, Clayton. I'll second. No.
It's getting late, you're starting to drift off on me.
Yes.
All right. All those, any other discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor to close South Potter Street from West High Street to Center Oil and Gas, 294 South Potter Street, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for a hayride, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item, let me go over that.
Sure.
DBI Friday in the Font followed up response to council about the alcohol at the September and October events, FYI, so there's no council action needed for that item. The next item is a memo on ongoing projects at the train station, Governor's Park baseball field, streetscape, police department, and Parkview Heights stormwater. Mr. Stewart, would you like to add to that?
Dawn put the memo together, if you want to summarize it.
Sure, okay. The PHMC grant for work on the train station's on schedule. The roof should be completed this week, weather pending. The painting then will commence on the lower level and hopefully by sometime late October be finished. The RFP for the Governor's Park baseball field was advertised for bids on Friday. There's going to be a non-mandatory pre-bid conference held Thursday, September 29th at the field by our architect. The bids for the project are due October 14th at 3 p.m. and bid opening will be at the Borough Council meeting on October 17th. The design of the Spring Street, West Bishop Street streetscape project is ongoing. We had a meeting with PennDOT officials a few weeks ago to walk the site, as well as to talk about the separation of the project between CDBG funding and the PennDOT TASA grant. We did receive electronic deposit of the $1.8 million grant funds for the police department. Design is complete on the Parkview Heights stormwater project. We are awaiting a grant award from DCED in the amount of $100,000. Speaking to the DC administrator, they're backed up, but we are told the grant is in the queue. In addition to that, our engineer, Pannoni Associates, submitted a grant application to the Center County Commissioner's Countywide Action Plan grant that deals with water quality improvements and treating stormwater runoff. So we are hopeful that we have an opportunity to be awarded that grant. And just finally, this isn't on the report, but as a note, the Zion Road Parkview Boulevard traffic study will be completed sometime this month. Final report will take an additional 30 days or so, according to the PennDOT administrator. So we should get the results of that study by the early November if all goes according to their schedule.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Halderman?
Thanks, Dawn.
Sure.
Next item is short-term rental proposed draft ordinance. I'll call for a motion and second to request staff to set up a date, time, and location for a public hearing to receive comments on a proposed draft. I have a motion.
I'll make that motion, please.
Motion by Clayton. Do I have a second?
Second, Sedgwick.
Sedgwick. Discussion?
Yeah, I have actually quite a few notes on this, and listening again to the people with the short-term rentals. I just believe a lot of this is out of line. I don't know if we should table it and have actual work sessions on it where we can really talk about this. I know this has been in the works for a long time, but I feel this is, I know it's very hard to do, and I appreciate everybody's hard work on it, but these are things that I think should not be done. I don't think Borough Council should be in the business of trying to stop or place unreasonable limitations on one business model to possibly benefit other business models, and I think that's been brought up a couple of times. So I would like to see this at least tabled and have some real discussions on this again. I'm not happy with the way it is.
Any other discussion?
I agree. And I thank you guys for the work you did on it, but I think, and not just this group, but I think there's a tendency on Borough Council to kind of try to micromanage things that maybe they don't really have business managing. And I'm concerned that there's too many restrictions being put on these short-term rentals.
Any other discussion? My comment to this would be that we have residents that put us in this office and have expectations of, I'm going to talk to residential areas. Some are complaining and some aren't. They might not come here, but I think you'll see them at the public hearing when we have it. And, we can't, we've left the short-term rentals in place, and we're not taking anybody away, but we are trying to compromise between the short-term rentals and the residents where there are some issues and even where there not be. And we try to use the numbers coming from legal and we've been over and around this I don't know how many times. And we need to get it to a conclusion here pretty soon or we'll have no control. Basically, trying to keep our borough, we want residential districts to be residential. But if we, allowing the STRs, I don't have a problem with the STRs. It's just that, when you start getting complaints from residents, and some of them are more than others. But anyway, that's kind of where my head is with this. But if you choose to table this, that's up to you guys. We will disband the committee and we'll go work session to work session, and Doug sometime in 2023 maybe get it done.
I'll make the motion that we table it for now and add it to the work sessions.
I'll second that.
Second, Dan.
That was McKean and Dan second.
Yes, McKean. Well, all those in favor of the table, say?
No,
Do we have a comment period?
No, not
No,
for table.
not for tabling.
Oh,
I want to,
No, we're
I'd
gonna
like,
vote.
I want a roll call, that's all that's.
Oh, okay, roll call vote.
You want to repeat the motion or anything?
Motion to table.
Motion to table.
Okay.
The
Just clarifying.
short-term rental proposed draft ordinance, public meeting.
Mr. Bernier,
No.
Mr. Brackville,
No.
Ms. Cleaton,
No.
Ms. Dan, Mr. Johnson,
No.
Ms. McKean,
Yes.
Ms. Brunel,
Yes.
Ms. Sedgwick,
No.
Ms. Tosti Vasey,
No,
6 noes, 3 yeses.
motion to advertise.
Okay.
Are we at the comment period?
So, yeah, well, we'll go back to motion to advertise the date, time, and location for a public hearing to receive comments on proposed draft. Discussion.
So, again, not being so right, at the comment period, we hear the comments from all the residents.
Correct.
Right? And then we come back to a council meeting.
Correct.
And we can make adjustments.
Correct.
After the public comment period.
Correct.
So, my point being, we don't eliminate making changes in this drafted ordinance, but what we do is move forward by doing this. So we haven't taken away the opportunity after we hear public comment from hopefully both sides, and then that comes back to council, and we make adjustments if we choose to do that. So we're not locking ourselves in by scheduling the public hearing at this time.
Okay.
So that's why, and I don't have to explain myself for my vote, but that was my thinking when I voted no, because we still have the opportunity to make changes after we hear public comment from both sides. Again.
I'll add to that, pass my gavel again, but that's the purpose of the public comments, to continue. And we met with the short-term rental folks for months. We hear from residents, some come to the meeting, some send letters. This is just another way to pull people out, get some information from both sides, as Doug said, and this is like the next step of getting this thing moving. Because if we don't reach out to the residents and the other SDR owners that we haven't even seen, I'm sure there's more than the group that comes here. So, so this way we have the opportunity to advertise the proposed ordinance so everybody gets to see it. Because right now, we were the only ones that have actually
It was
seen.
sort of like what we did with
Yeah.
the Spring Creek Watershed tonight.
Exactly.
We were stuck. We needed to make a motion and get moving, and we did.
Okay.
So I
I'm
make that
certainly
comparison.
not opposed to
But
that.
I will say that
the explanations.
we'll also, we'll just I'll do it later, but let's go ahead. and,
Can I have one thing for clarification for the public's purpose? I know since this is a zoning ordinance issue, that there's a legal time from the date we have the public hearing, that hearing and that final decision has to be. Isn't that true?
That's the zoning hearing board. This is Borough Council.
I thought with zoning ordinances, when you add, we could do this and then we could do 6 months
Yes.
later and then,
Yes.
okay.
we did this once already.
No, we did, but we have modified the ordinance
Right.
considerably.
Yeah.
So it would be healthy to have another public
Oh,
hearing,
I
but
agree with that.
what you're referring to is a zoning hearing board making decisions,
Okay.
and that they have a timeline.
Okay.
Council can table it, pick it up, do
Okay.
whatever they want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Call them in.
We call the motion, and we already did. We already.
I called questions.
Oh, you called the question.
It's right here.
Yeah, I thought we just voted on this.
No, we haven't voted.
We haven't voted yet.
We have not.
We voted on it.
On the table, that was, I'm sorry, that's on the table.
We
Okay.
need to vote.
All right,
I don't.
I'm getting tired. So anyway, we have a motion and a second to remove Bellefonte Borough from. Got 'em in the wrong one.
Action to request staff.
Council take action to request staff to set up date, time, and location for public hearing to receive comments on public draft. You want a roll call, or you want regular vote?
Somebody needs to request a roll call.
Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, that's what we're doing.
So when will the draft become public that we can share it?
When we advertise for the hearing.
Okay.
We can let you know, we got things set up.
Good question.
Thanks.
And for the next item is SRR agreement, there's no, that's still under review, so we have no action for that. And now we're going to move into new business. Yeah, go ahead.
Under new business, there's a couple items, I'll just sort of go over them. This first one's a 2023 minimum municipal obligation. This is paperwork related to our pension plans. There's 3 plans, 2 public works non-uniform, non-police plans, and 1 police plan. And then additionally, that's actually listed as a separate motion, but additionally, there's a resolution that we have to adopt. It's just a formality. We have to do it every year. It's in relation to the officers paying less than 5%, paying 3.9, which is agreed upon in the police contract. But for whatever it's worth, we have to do this resolution every year because it's less than 5%. So they're broken into 2 motions.
I'll call for a motion and second to approve the 2023 MMOs as presented for the non-uniform pension and police pension. Do I have a motion? Clayton?
I'll second, Dan.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion and second to approve the 2023 MMOs as presented for the non-uniform pension and police pension signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion carries. The next motion would be to approve resolution number 9192022-01. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion for now. I'll second it, Clayton.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Next item is asking council to revise the fee schedule to add a lot consolidation plan fee. For whatever reason, our fee schedule does not include this currently, so we're recommend it can be added at any time.
Yeah, so I'll call for a motion and second to approve resolution number 09192-022-02. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Kent?
I'll second.
Joanne. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve resolution number 09192-022-02 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We did number 3
Yes.
already.
Next item, meeting minute requirements. I've had people ask me what's required and all that, so I went to the Open Records Act and put a copy in of what's the minimum requirements in a municipal set of minutes.
Any questions on that? Okay. And last item, concerning goals and issues. Again, I think we're getting to the time of year where the goals and issues are popping up out of necessity and not so much, let's try to do that one or that one. So, you know, if we have time and somebody has an idea, or we're looking at our goals on the list now, we're going to be extending our work sessions, and so we'll have some time maybe for those and with the budget.
Yes.
Spending most of the time with the budget.
It's definitely related to the budget. You gotta have the resources to do the goals. So keep that in mind for 2023.
The other thing, since we're going to advertise, we will disband this committee that we've had, and I want to thank Deb Cleaton and Sean and McKean and Joanne Thursday-Vasey for their work. We spent, what, about 3 months on that, back and forth. But, you know, we got to a good place, I think, at least where we can advertise it and get some other opinions and then move it on from there.
So I think it worked out really well. We all came in with very different views, and we had some back and forth, and I don't like this, and you don't like that. Oh, that sounds good. But I think eventually it came together as well as we could.
I'm going to add too that, you know, when we discussed stuff, it wasn't like we were picking things out of the air and saying, let's put this in. Some of it was Airbnb related. Some of it was their guidelines, not ours. It was theirs already.
Yeah.
So you're not hearing that out there. And I don't hear that group talk about residents. It's about them. And we're here for the residents. And if we can help them, fine. But if we can't, I mean, we can only do so much in order to keep the residents happy and keep them here in Bellefonte. Then, you gotta take a look at it.
Our Airbnb owners are residents.
I know, I understand that.
They're that line between also, so.
But the residential area did not allow short-term rental, and it should have never happened. We got nailed for it, and that's why we're in there. It's the only reason they're in there at this point, or they wouldn't be. Had things been done the way they should have been done in 2018 or 19.
When this, you're referring to
Absolutely.
this meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Nobody knew at that point what was going on. So anyway, that's it for that. We did have our executive meeting between the work session and the business meeting tonight, so that was taken care of. So with that said, we will have a motion to adjourn. Okay. Have a second? We have a second.
I apologize for being late to get my trivia question.
All in favor of agending?
He wants to do his trivia question.
No, go ahead. No.
We'll adjourn.
Adjourn.
We'll do it. We'll just adjourn.
Something else, adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have adjourned at 9:43.
That was a long meeting, so.